that's a layup. Temptation couldn't even phase him. 40 days and nights and still proclaiming the kingdom. Back by the king of kings, little lovers. Every time we get involved, it's a dub. By the fall, ain't no drug. It ain't even close to love. Faith, faith, faith. It ain't even close to love. Faith, 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 faith. Tiptoeing with this faith of mine. Big stepper, yeah, yeah. Big stepper, big stepper, yeah. Back by the king of kings, little lovers. Every time we get involved, it's a dub. By the fall, ain't no drug. It ain't even close, oh Lord. It ain't even close. It ain't even close, oh Lord. It ain't even close. All praise to the Most High. It ain't even close. It ain't even close. It ain't even close. No.
There was a period of time in this country where African people owned a lot of land, owned a lot of businesses. But what happened was the American government, the Ku Klux Klan, and other organizations organized in smashing that effort. So it's not that we haven't tried to own lands and have not organized businesses. It's that if you are African in America, or in Latin America, or in the Caribbean, or in the continent, you will be hunted no matter what you do, because they do not want us to survive and become self-sufficient.
You know niggas die for equal pay, right? You know when I work, I ain't your slave, right? You know I ain't shucking and jiving and high-fiving. You know this ain't back in the days, right? Well, I can't tell how the way they killed Freddie Gray, right? Shot down Mike Brown, how they did Trey, right? Let them continue choking niggas. We gonna turn style. I ain't your token nigga. You know I came in this game independent, right? Title, my own label, same difference. Oh, niggas are skeptical when it's their own shit. You bought 9 iPhones and Steve Jobs was rich. Phil Knight's worth trillions, you still bought those kicks. Spotify's 9 billion, they ain't say shit. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. The only one they hating on look the same as you. That's cool, I know they trying to bamboozle you. Spending millions on me, they trying to confuse you. I had to talk to myself, hope you used to. It's politics as usual.
When you have lives lost as artists, that gives us an obligation to stand up against your intentions from what you tell me up here, but the direction that you took to get there is a bit unorthodox and kind of, I would say, some people would say thoughtless. I just want you to consider all the people who just might be terribly like just torn apart and hurt. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure where you're trying to go with this. Some things you don't align with and some shit you just don't go against. But where you trying to go with this is some shit you just don't align with and don't go against.
You just reading the headlines, you don't see the fine print. You on some choosing sides, I'm on some unified.
It's bigger than your selfish agenda. If your election ain't gonna stop police from murdering niggas, then shit.
Bruh, I never ever stopped fighting for the people. Actually wearing a hat to show people that we equal.
You gotta see the vantage point of the people. What makes you feel equal makes them feel evil.
See, that's the problem with this damn nation. All blacks gotta be Democrats, man. We ain't made it off the plantation.
Who you choose as your political party? You represent dudes just seem cruel and cold-hearted, with blatant disregard for the people who put you in position. Don't you feel an obligation to them?
they judge you, they judge Christ. Godspeed for women's rights. They judge you, they judge Christ. Godspeed for women's rights. They judge you, they judge Christ. Godspeed for women's rights. They judge you, they judge Christ. Godspeed for women's rights. They judge.
You'll hate to see me reach my full potential. You want me robbing, popping mileage, popping pistol. I'm going to college, cut to the youngest, I'm influential. Thought it was Congress, they ain't know this was a presidential. They ain't know that I was intellectual. You trying to change your life, but they won't let you. I know they know I'm special, why they playing with me? You talking jewels, I'm dropping jewels, you see the difference.
Hip-hop's very intelligent.
Yeah.
It's intelligent on certain subjects. It's
right.
emotionally intelligent. It's intelligent in different capacities. It's very intelligent in terms of call and response. Like, I'm gonna do something, something's gonna happen. But it's like, I killed your man, so now you gotta come kill me. Like, that's the thing. That's very intelligent. You know, it's like, yeah, you recognize that, yeah, you do something and then something happens. You know, for every action there's a reaction, right? So it's Newtonian in its level of like intellect and deep. As
a offshoot of American culture, I mean, American culture is built on.
All culture is built on killing something.
Killing.
You look at the Egyptian steles, with the king, you look at like, oh, look at what we did 2,000 years ago. He's standing on somebody's neck,
right,
with a club in his hand, finna kill something. You know, like drill music on the walls of the pyramids.
As you just pointed out, it's been going on forever. But I get exhausted by the constant hip-hop being the constant kind of poster child for violence in America.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I always make sure to relate it back to it being a child of American culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down with Obama just to add a little drama, and I'm rolling with the nation, but I've been doing that. Had a talk with my mama, had to let her know that I'ma make a change, and she said, baby, go ahead and do that. Farrakhan is a prophet, and I know it cause he showed it, and he told me, so I'm teaching brothers how to be peace. What's wrong? We too strong, and if we all get along, they could never penetrate us. All they do is motivate us, haters.
The enemy is always watching for leadership.
So, you know, this is different than the plane we were on.
Yeah,
when we were kicking it for like 4 hours, chopping it up, and I said, man, this is one of the smartest cats I've ever been. I've been digging your music for a while. A lot of people don't understand, given where you've come from, which is from the hardest of the hard scrabble existence, tough childhood, out here with these gangbangers and so on, but you've recreated yourself lyrically. You've allowed the integrity of your art to stand for you. But not only that, you're not only speaking through the words, but one of the things I noticed when I met you is the beauty of the ink on your body, right?
That's right.
And it tells a story. I remember, you know, Tupac told a story, LeBron has a story, Kobe has a story. What's, of all the tattoos that you have, that you're tatted up, which one is the most significant, the most important, or the most meaningful to you?
On my face, it said, I don't know what side, I think it's this side, it said God will rise. And so, you know, when I was like 27, I was just riding around with one of my homegirls, and she asked me what my name meant. My first name is Ermias. And it's an East African name. And so I was just like, you know, it's a common name back home, I guess. And she Googled it, and she like, nah, your name means God will rise.
It's the calm before the storm right here. Wait, how was I gonna start this off?
Talk about how there's no coincidence when you compare the plantation and the prison. This was the plan since abolition.
Some of these statutes and laws are basically targeted towards a certain group of people where we are like trapped inside of a system that's extremely hard up for us to get out and control. I don't know who made it. I don't know who responsible it became. Many years before me, I was born into the system, into this lifestyle, and I don't feel like anybody is addressing it to try to help fix things. It's a lot of things in the system that clearly don't make sense to the world, but it's going on today, and it's keeping many young black men caught up in the system without even committing crime.
Are you able...
But we better give Obama props, cause what we got in office now's a kamikaze that'll probably cause a nuclear holocaust. And while the drama pops and he waits for shit to quiet down, he'll just gas his plane up and fly around till the bombing stops. Intensity's heightened, tensions are rising. Trump, when it comes to giving a shit, you're stingy as I am. Except when it comes to having the balls to go against me, you hide them. Cause you don't got the nuts like an empty asylum. Racism's the only thing he's fantastic for. Cause that's how he gets his rocks off and he's orange.
The truth is harsh, you know, and as we go along...
The truth is what?
Harsh.
But what is the truth?
Well, the truth of the matter is that black people have been taken advantage of for the last 500 years by cruel means, and it still exists today.
So what are you setting out to do to right this?
Well, in order to repair things and make it, I guess, clear for us in the future, the truth has to be explained, and the truth has been kept away from everybody for so long. You know, like I said, in 1988, I guess our motto is to explain black scrutinization around the world by European culture.
Make them out the hood to keep us trapped. The red line it probably declines if you live by black. I don't think they hear me though. Okay. Gentrify your own hood before these people do it. Claim eminent domain and have your people moving. That's a small glimpse into what Nipsey was doing. For anybody still confused as to what he was doing. The neighborhood designed to keep us trapped. They redlined it, so property declines if you live by blacks. They depress the asset and take the property back. It's a ruthless but a genius plan in fact. So now we fighting over scraps. Crabs in the barrel, but crabs don't belong in the barrel. They ain't never tell us that. So in the barrel, we gonna act like we act. We can easily get out the barrel if we stand on each other's back. Whoever gets on top, as long as they stay attached, they can pull everybody out. I was doing just that. I told neighborhood nips and stay close. $100 million on your schedule, lay low. Tell your team to be on point in the places that they go. I never dreamed to get killed in the place that he called home. How we gonna get in power with you the source? Y'all like to run off on the plug, so of course. That ain't lit, that's a means to an end. Me and my team was playing the plug and had a plan. Sometimes we was only making 1,000 a joint. That ain't no money, but that ain't the point. So those 92 bricks was only 92,000. So y'all can close your mouth, it ain't nothing for y'all to wow.
That's not disrespecting the military. That. This is for Colin. Ball up a fist. And keep that shit balled like Donald the bitch. He's gonna get rid of all immigrants. He's gonna build that thing up taller than this. Well, if he does build it, I hope it's rock solid with bricks. Cause like him in politics, I'm using all of his tricks. Cause I'm throwing that piece of shit against the wall till it sticks.
Hello, hello, hello. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Culture. I am one of your co-hosts tonight. My name is Quisha King. I missed you guys. I feel like we haven't, been dialoguing. I feel like it's been spotty. It's been, a little here, a little there, holidays and everything, but I really miss chatting with you guys. we have a fantastic show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about rap, conscious rap. And as you saw in the montage that Chad put together, who does such an amazing job, we have become a culture that these weird communist, radical, extremely radical ideas are pumped into our system all the time. And we talk about this often, you know, culture. And we see this, there's a attempt to make this type of music, this type of rap or hip hop look more acceptable, you know, like this is the more acceptable stuff. You know, we're not really talking about shooting people up and sex and all that stuff, but this conscious rap is supposed to be more, it's supposed to be on a higher plane, you know, but as we can see, the words are seemingly benign, but what they end up being is death and destruction. So the same end that you get when you're talking about killing people and all those things, you get a slow, you're just slowly going to this other place. So to discuss this and much more, I am sure, let's welcome our first guest tonight, excuse me, first co-host, Mr. Teach'em Chuck. Hey, Chuck, how are you?
I feel like I am a guest. Oh, there I go. I'm back. Okay, I'm on. No, I said I feel like I am a guest. The last month or so.
I know, right? It feels weird.
Yeah, my attendance has been a little shoddy, but it's been a busy month, and just I'll just say it right here, right now, in front of everybody. I will not be here next week because next week is my wedding anniversary. So, yeah. So yeah, I won't be here next week. So yeah.
That's an excused absence.
That's an excuse. Okay, you accept that?
Yeah, that's an excused absence.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I caught the show, a part of the show at least last week, and the lovely Miss Crystal was standing in for you, and she is back again tonight. So we have the treat of that. So of her and her perspective. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about this topic, though? Your brief, you know, first look.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, hip hop, you know, just like, for example, you know, rock music, you know, there's all sorts, you know, something, you know, there's this, I guess, a revolution in art or, you know, culture and you know, outcomes like this new thing. And, you know, the longer it sticks around and you have, you know, other, you know, more and more people with other kind of ideas about, you know, where to take the sound and where to take the, you know, just the voice and everything else. And so from that main sort of source, you know, develops all sorts of like subgenres, you know, again, we think about, you know, rock music, you got your more hard rock, your heavier rock, your alternative rock, your stadium rock, and so on and so forth. And so, you know, rap is no different in that regard. And that's why we really want to talk about this whole quote unquote conscious rap concept. Even in the montage, I mean, you did see a lot of artists and performers and rappers who, you know, may not necessarily fit the bill, but, you know, yet and still at that moment, you know, and they were captured either performing or, you know, in the middle of an interview, they were sort of playing the role as this kind of, this sort of street intellectual, this hip hop intellectual. And so as we go through, you know, as we have this conversation, I really want to get into what is this whole concept of a conscious rapper, and in fact, what does it mean to even be conscious? First and foremost, because you know we're already. I mean, I'm seeing people in the chat, you know, and they're, you know, of course, you know, labeling a lot of the people's in the montage, labeling them communists. Quisha, you just used the term communist. And so I think it would behoove us to really get into just the weeds here to really unpack and try to figure out, you know, why what do we mean, and why are we attributing? I mean, we know what communism is, particularly here in this audience, but why are we associating their words, and why are we associating these individuals with such a tag, with such a label?
Yeah.
I think it's important to get into that, and so I just can't wait to get this conversation going. But what you saw there is sort of like what Rousseau or even Nietzsche, a century or so later, would describe. These individuals here, these are your myth makers. These are your value givers. These are the people who establish what we call culture.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you study Nietzsche and Rousseau, you'll understand the power of mythology. And why it is important for us to have these types of conversations. And the montage, I'll just say one thing about the montage, and then I'll just ease back. Of course, it really gets under my skin. I heard Jay-Z on stage rapping, and he's saying something about redlining, talking about how they redline our neighborhoods to lower our property value so they can come back and buy it up. Well, redlining does not lower property value. That kind of stuff always gets on my nerves because there's a lot of understanding about this whole concept of redlining. But anyway, I had never heard that song, T.I. and Kanye West. I remember when it had first came out, someone had told me about it, but I never took the time to listen to it because I couldn't have cared less. But it's funny to me. And then you saw Snoop Dogg talking about, Obama. Maybe we could have Chad give another Snoop Dogg impersonation. A flashback to season 1. You hear Snoop talking about Obama, and then Eminem goes on and say we have to give, thanks to Obama for what he did prior to this guy we have in the White House now who was just so awful. But during the song, you notice, Kanye West, when it was his turn, one of his lines, he said that, black people, why do we always have to be Democrats? Something to that effect. And then when T.I., when it's his turn to hop back on, he totally shifts his perspective and moves the goalpost further down and tries to have this, and I'm sure that you've had conversations with black liberals, diehard Democrats, or perhaps they pretend to be quote unquote independents. Those are nothing more than liberals in disguise, if you ask me. But when these sorts of accusations are always aimed at one particular side of the political divide, and when you point out, and again, and I know we try to get deeper into partisanship on this show, but the facts are the facts, because when you point out and when you reveal to them the historical record, then all of a sudden it's no longer about party politics. It's about the system as a whole. But yet still, I mean, remember Larry Elder ran up, he ran up against this when he went on the Breakfast Club. Now, mind you, if I'm Kanye West, I ain't doing no song with no T.I. But anyway, that's a whole nother issue. But notice how it's never an issue when a black person with a platform supports a liberal, whether they be black or white. But when you support a Republican and when you can support a conservative, that's when the attacks come. And when you prove them wrong with facts, then it's no longer about the Democrat Party. It's about the system. But are Democrats and the American left or the American liberal, are they not a part of that very same system? But you can champion Obama, you can champion any other Democrat politician, till your heart is content. And no one in the so-called hip hop community will have a thing to say about it. It's not about the system then. You're not selling out then, you see.
And it's not, and then suddenly race don't matter either.
Suddenly race doesn't
nobody
matter
showed
either.
up as white.
Exactly.
He's definitely white.
Been white all his life.
Right. And it's just magically, you just forget about racism. It's healed by God. Bless the Lord.
That's how again, this whole identity it's not, of course, this is about ideas. It's nonsense. It's about ideas, and that's what we're talking about. This is a war of ideas. It has nothing to do with anything that these clowns like Jay-Z and even Kendrick Lamar. Every time I see that clip of him, I'm just so appalled by what I see. And then, all of a sudden everyone is parading Kendrick Lamar up like he's some big hero because he supposedly ended Drake's career. Mind you, I don't even know what the hell going on between the two of them. I'm a 40-something
I
year
can
old
give
man.
you all the tea, honey.
I
know
bet you
all
can.
the
I bet you can. I'm a 40-some-year-old man. I couldn't care less about either one of those men.
My daughter keeps me updated.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar is another one. He's another pseudo intellectual, another phony, another fake.
Yeah.
Who
But
I would
he's actually a really talented. You know what sucks about this stuff? Some of these
yeah.
people are actually talented. Like,
I can't confirm. I will just take your word for it, Quisha. I've never heard a Kendrick Lamar record. I haven't, and not mind you, I used to be a diehard hip hop. I mean, the albums and the verses, the songs in my mental Rolodex, I could just, but I have not been a serious connoisseur or a consumer of hip hop music in about 20 years. And people, when I say that, people think I'm joking.
yeah.
You'd be surprised. I've never heard a Kendrick Lamar record. I couldn't rap a Kendrick Lamar song. If you put a gun to my head, Quisha, and asked me to rap a Kendrick Lamar verse, I'd be a dead man.
What? Okay, yeah.
I'd be a dead man.
Take a moment, listen to like first album, maybe
No.
maybe a couple songs in the second.
No.
Okay.
I have no patience. I have no patience.
Well,
for
you know what's funny? He
No.
doesn't on his first album. It's not like that. Like it's not that he's not that. This is a new kind of thing for him, in my opinion. It wasn't explicitly like that. I want to make sure we get everybody on first takes, and then we can do a deep dive. I do want to say really, really quickly though, for the audience, y'all, Chuck did this live with was it the
ISO.
real
The real ISO.
ISO. Okay. I was like trying to okay. ISO, y'all. Dope conversation. Yeah, have to go check that out. Just really, really good. So many great nuggets in there. Okay. So without further ado, we have another lady on the stage. I am very happy about this because, I feel like I got a little somebody to, have my back.
Right, beating up on
Welcome, Miss Crystal. How are you?
He's muted. He's muted.
Hold on. Uh-oh. Hey,
Sorry, it's such an honor. Before you jumped on, Chad was like, I might call you Quisha a few times during the night. I was like, you know what? That would be an honor.
Oh, goodness.
So glad to be here. I was back there. I had to put myself on mute because I didn't know if you guys had me live because I was hollering with like I was hollering with your introduction. He said these are the myth makers. And it's so true. I sat there and the first words that came to my head is these people are so freaking dishonest. I mean, like, here we have like Jay-Z, who's a billionaire, like talking about oppression and talking about he wants to help the Black community. Like you said, he talked about gentrification and gentrifying the neighborhood. But mind you, he won't tell you how that worked out for him. You remember a couple of years ago, he met with some venture capitalists to help. Have you ever heard of a venture capitalist to help rent to own Black folks? He won't tell you how that project. Matter of fact, Jay-Z, please, respond to this. Let us know how that project has worked for you. It was like it happened in like 2021. And so to watch these so-called conscious rappers say that they're going to help the Black community. And then they do it with the means of degeneracy and degradation. Like you opened up that montage with Sister Soldier. Now, mind you, I grew up in New York. So The Coldest Winter Ever was one of my favorite books. It was, when they say, when you want to hide something from a Black person, put it in the book. I was that Black person. But one book that I got through was The Coldest Winter Ever.
Everybody.
Exactly. And so if you read that book, it did nothing to uplift it was nothing but sex, drugs, drug dealing, a young girl going to jail, a young girl utilizing her body to make money, her robbing people. I mean, like, this was so degenerate. And this is somebody that we looked up to as a culture leader. Like, it's just like, what in hindsight, you're just like, what the heck were we thinking? But Black people, I mean, uplifted by the matriarchy, a bunch of emotional men, like you see them sitting up there crying, talking about Black men getting killed by the police, even though that's been disproven over and over again. They keep telling these lies and this like fake kind of whatever, and no one calls them out on it. And as you were saying, Chuck, it was like it's only one-sided. And I call BS. I call cap, like you like Blanche says with the whole Kanye West thing. Like, first of all, agree. Why are you having a song with somebody like T.I.? Like, why are you doing a song with him to explain to him why you believe that babies shouldn't be killed? Why you believe that the Democrat Party hasn't done anything for Black folks? That's all been proven. I mean, that's all been proven. And so no need to have a discussion. Black people are constantly being played by these people, by these billionaires, by these millionaires, by these people who have good cush lives off of the backs of a culture that has profited and benefited off of their destruction. And then they come tell you about all the people, the Jews that back them, all the white folks that back them. I guarantee you they don't have no Black folks behind them that haven't been ex-rappers, Russell Simmons or somebody like that, backing them. But then they'll say, the system is rigged against us, the system is trying to kill you, the system is keeping you down, all because they know the secret, which Blanche says, there is no honorable way to appeal to Black folks. And that's just the truth.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree. Certainly. I mean, I push back a little on the being able to get. I mean, everybody knows this. I say this all the time. Chad, y'all could probably finish my sentence. That I think that there is a way to some Black people ain't no appealing.
Yeah, I know you're the resident optimist. We know.
Yes, I am. I don't apologize. I am a cheerleader to my core. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
But no, I do believe that there are some, because I've seen them. I've seen them. It has happened. I feel like I'm one of them. I feel like I am one of them. So that's all I got to say. Let's go ahead and hear from our fearless leader here, Mr. Chad O. Jackson. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. I'm doing good. Good to see you.
You as well. Welcome back. How was your Father's Day?
How was my Father's Day? It was good. It was good. We had fun. How was yours?
I didn't even know it was Father's Day, to be honest with you.
Don't. Anyway, how was yours, Chuck?
That was mine.
Yeah.
Shoot, I was working, man. I spent the whole day. Work has been real busy for me. So, I signed up for some overtime hours last week. And, that's why I couldn't do the show. And I worked like 20 hours in like 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I worked, I was sitting at my computer on Father's Day for 13 hours straight on Sunday, because the day before I had my son's birthday party, so I couldn't really get a lot done. And then on Sunday, on Father's Day, I was working, being a dad, providing, getting that money.
Scratching and surviving, like on Good Times.
Scratching and surviving, that's right.
Chat, how's my audio? Let me know if I'm too low or too high.
Your mic sounds nice.
Yep.
Okay.
Check 1 2 1 2.
Right.
We broached this subject before. Those of you who have been with us for a while may have noticed a couple of those clips in the montage, but I think it's high time that we focus on this particular subject. I think it's been a long time coming, and I know Chuck is excited to get into it. Welcome back, Crystal. You were great last week, and I'm grateful for the fact that you were able to come in tonight. I know Blanche is on a date, so we had
Glad to be here.
Wait a minute. Okay. So I said when I found out this information, I said for real.
I don't mean to put his business out in the street like that.
No, we love that for him.
Right. After you don't put it out there, all in the streets.
Right.
Yeah, Blanche on a date.
I mean, it's a good topic, and I think Quisha said it best in her opening statements, when she said, typically when people think of the degeneracy that it does exist in rap, people typically think of party music or party hip hop or violent hip hop, the gangster rap. Very rarely do you think of the conscious hip hop, which to me is even more degenerate, even more disgusting, even more vile than a lot of the party and gangster rap that is out there, simply because when you think of the fact that each culture has its wise men among it, right? The question becomes, well, who are the wise men of urban culture? And to the extent that you have your conscious rappers, your conscious hip hop artists, these are perceived to be the wise men of urban culture. And to Chuck's point, they're putting forth a mythology. They're putting forth a message that doesn't really go anywhere. I mean, you just heard Crystal make the same point when referencing Sister Soldier's book. But again, it's this kind of narrative, this kind of woe is me narrative, this kind of the system is stacked against us narrative. The dice are loaded against us narrative. And my belief is that the whole point of it is to instill a spirit of bitterness, and it's all political. It's all politically aimed. I don't know. I think that's partly of where this conversation is going to go tonight, is to get into the weeds of what is the purpose of conscious rap? What is the purpose of this kind of media, this kind of content, with respect to the body politic? So very, very anxious to get into this topic tonight.
Very cool, Chad. So do you think that there is any room for, okay, so here's my sin. I'm like, as believers, we should have been the ones to direct culture. Like, I think that is a indictment of our forwardness, for lack of a better word. I feel like we should have been, these are music. You guys know how I feel about this. Music, art, those things belong to the Lord. And I feel like we should have been the ones on the forefront creating those things. I mean, obviously not everyone.
Well, you say that, you say that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but at the same time, people like what they like. I mean, I understand that when it comes to making a hit song, there's a science to it. There's a science to putting together a pop song or an R&B song or a hip hop song that's going to, in a sense, go viral even before the internet. That's going to be played by every radio station. And I think part of it too is politics, in terms of getting the radio stations to play this song over and over again, to get the clubs to play it over and over again, so on and so forth. And you see the same thing in the church too. Some church or some group will come up with this song, and then other churches will play it. And then before you know it, churches all across America, contemporary churches all around America, are playing the same 6 or 7 worship songs. And so I think that there's a science to it. But again, I take your point, and I want you to finish it because I want to see where you go with it. But at the same time, when it comes to ideological subversion, when it comes to the engineering of public consent, the engineering of public opinion, music and entertainment is only part, but a very important part of this whole cake. I mean, of course, you have academia, you have education, you have news, you have journalism, you have primary, secondary education. You have all of these different components to shaping public opinion, and music and entertainment is part of that. And so the fact is, you know, if we know what the Bible says about Satan is true, namely that he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, that comes with a very deliberate act. Like that in itself is a very deliberate act, to steal, kill, and destroy. And so, and he's constantly trying to pluck those of us who are God's remnant from him, from God. And there are those of us who have conversion, but they're false conversions, you know. This is where you get the whole parable of, you know, some seed falling on rocky soil, some seed falling here, some seed falling there. And so a lot of us aren't truly God's, and it's very easy for some piece of art or some music or some, you know, cultural relic to pluck us from what we perceive to be the faith, which isn't really the faith at all. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but the point that I'm trying to make is what you're proposing, in a sense, is we as Christians have to be as deliberate and as tactical as the secularists, the humanists, the atheists, the Marxists, in terms of like trying to get into the culture and trying to basically weave into the fabric of American and Western civilization our ideas, our rhetoric, our worldview. And it seems time and again that the left or the secularists or whatever you want to call them are always beating us to the punch. And that is evidence of the fact that we as Christians have, in a sense, let our foot off the gas. Is that, am I correct in that?
Partly. I mean, certainly now, but I mean, like from the beginning, I don't think we should have ever pulled back from those things. Like, I feel like we just kind of let them have it. And it's too important to not protect. Something that Chuck was talking about on
what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? And I won't keep cutting you off. So I'm just genuinely curious. What does it mean to you when the Bible says that Satan is a prince of the air?
That Satan is a prince of the air?
Ear. Are you saying ear?
No, air. A-I-R.
Yeah,
Oh,
like the atmosphere, like the environment.
So there, I mean, gosh, this takes me back to my beginning Christian days. Okay, so you know, there's like heavens, and so there's like where God resides, and then there is a spirit, the spiritual realm, and that, I mean, the Bible says that that is where Satan is, sort of his placement spiritually, I guess, if we want to call it like that right now. And that is, some people might agree with that. Some people, I mean, that is a very, we could go a lot of places with that. Anyway, what's ultimate? What are you asking me? Like, ultimately, are you kind of going down that Satan controls like music? Is that kind of where you're going? That thought?
No, I was just genuinely curious in what your thoughts on that is.
Did she describe it properly? I mean, in your opinion? I mean, Quisha, I was trying to follow you because when I heard the way you kind of painted this picture, it almost sound you're trying to like describe like something like where there are like realms of like levels to.
So
kind of
in Christian, in theologians would say, like, I mean, and people differ on this. So it's not, you know, this is not like a salvific. It's just, it's an area where some people differ. But from what I understand, there's like heavens, what they're talking about. There's different heavens.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's like God's realm where he dwells. And then below that is another type of heaven, like a spiritual heaven. And then you get to like the atmosphere, like where, like right above, like space, basically. Space. And you know, when the Bible talks about there being, you know, stars, that's a particular heaven, that it's referenced as a heaven sometimes.
Yeah.
And so
That,
that's
okay.
where I believe that Satan, and like I said, like this is not
I know
on this thing.
I know what you're saying.
No, I mean, I know that, you know, and it's the reason why I asked that question is because when you described it initially, of course, you know, I was getting like, you know, flashes of, you know, Kabbalah and things of that nature. But since we're on the topic of, you know, rappers, of course, you know, rappers like to liken themselves to poets, right? I mean, they do it to music. It's sort of like melodic poetry or, you know, spoken word kind of a thing. And as you were describing this, you know, of course, I'm thinking of Dante's Divine Comedy, right? I'm thinking about the Inferno or Virgil, the poet Virgil. And, you know, once upon a time, and you know, people, and this is why art is important. Art is important. I mean, you know, culture is made up of a multitude of, you know, different aspects, right? That sort of defines or creates culture. When we're talking about art and entertainment, of course, it's not trivial, right? It's not just some superficial thing that we can just ignore, because once upon a time, you know, it's hard to imagine that, you know, in the 14th century, someone like Dante, this was for its time, this was up for commercial consumption. You know what I mean? But, you know, who today, I mean, even, you know, now, of course, I mean, you know, you're going back to the 14th century, you're talking about an era where a time in the history and in the development of man where most folks couldn't read and write. And I mean, you know, just simply being literate was a privilege. And this is something I mentioned before when we talked about public intellectuals. And there's a whole bit on that topic that I didn't even get a chance to discuss because, you know, time, of course, right? But you know, just being literate is a luxury that was only afforded to the privileged, right? But you know, now fast forward to today, you know, if someone tells you that, you know, today, you know, what did you do today? Or I listened to that new Kendrick Lamar album, or what did you do today? It's like, well, I read Dante's Inferno. That person is well, okay, well, that person is an intellectual, you know, that. And so I say all of that because kind of like what you said, Quisha, when you talked about talent, kind of like talent being like a gift from God. And it's like, well, how do you use that talent? What do you use that talent to say? What do you use that talent to do? What does Dante's work tell us about the nature of man, or what does Dante's work tell us about the afterlife, or the concept of heaven, or the concept of hell? And this reminds me of another thing I want to discuss, because, you know, when we're talking about Black culture, we're talking about quote unquote conscious rap. This is supposedly the positive rap. Like Chad mentioned, we broached this subject last season. I think the topic of the show was, you know, did hip hop have a good period? Because this is stuff that you hear. It's like, well, in the late 80s, when, you know, the West Coast emerged on the scene, and, you know, during that time, the movie Colors had just came out, I think in 1988. And NWA had hit the scene. And although, you know, yes, you know, you may have had gangs in other parts of the country, but, you know, LA culture, LA street culture, Southern California street culture was its own sort of thing. And when we got to see that, the nation got to see that for the first time. And then when NWA came out, it sort of changed everything. And then there, you know, out of that came this sub-genre of hip hop that we call gangster rap. And so from there, you kind of needed this counterpart, because prior to there being a gangster rap, I don't even know if there was a concept or even a phrase, a term called conscious rap, you know, sort of like, you know, what was that? You know what I'm saying? If all rap is quote unquote positive or a conscious, you don't necessarily have to designate it as such. It just is what it is. Okay, so what is this conscious rap, and what are the so-called smart rappers, those that are actually promoting positivity? What are they actually saying, and in what kind of line or mode of thinking or thought are these, you know, these products, these songs, these pieces of art, if you want to call them that, out, and what kind of spirit or context are these ideas being produced? Let me just say this, and then I'll pass the mic. And I also did a conversation with another YouTuber named Sub-Zero. It's about a similar topic. We talked about Marxism and hip hop, and he and I spoke for 4 hours. More so an interview than a conversation. And I talked about during that interview something I'll bring up here. And I'm going to give you guys just a quick definition of something. This definition is of a word known as negritude. I don't know if any of you have ever heard the term negritude, okay? Negritude is a term coined from a literary and ideological movement developed by French-speaking Black intellectuals during the 1930s, which reflected a listen to what I'm about to say, which reflected a widespread reaction to the colonial situation. Black intellectuals used poetry and literature to affirm Black personality and redefine the collective experience of Blacks. Shortly thereafter, I can't remember the exact year of its publication, but a French intellectual, he's considered to be one of the key figures in the development of existential philosophy, a man by the name of Jean-Paul Sartre, released a long-form poem that he called Black Orpheus. And of course, you know, he's borrowing from the Greek god Orpheus, who of course descended into hell to rescue his wife. Again, you're getting these ideas of dissension and going from one level of existence and reality to another in order to retrieve something. And so a lot of this idea of this sort of unique Black identity apart from the mainstream of America, of course, you know, by the time the baby boomers came of age in the 1960s, brought about the dawn of Blaxploitation. So when you look at hip hop was simply a carryover from the 70s and this whole idea of Blaxploitation. I know that hip hop was sort of like in its infancy around the same time as Blaxploitation, but it was sort of done in the same spirit, because out of this idea that was put forth by Black intellectual poets in the 1930s, out of that came this whole idea and this concept, by and large, of Black pride and Black consciousness. And one of the men, and of course, you know, when you listen to a group like, say, for example, a Public Enemy, right? We saw Chuck D in the montage, and we know that a lot of the Black militant figures of the civil rights and you know, Black nationalist era, a lot of your early hip hop artists and even the hip hop artists of today look upon them as sort of like these founding figures, these towering intellectual figures whose messages they want to put in their art for the purpose of some kind of collective Black uplift. Okay. And when you look at that era, to speak of a Black French intellectual, a name will constantly come up, especially, for example, when you study the Black Panther Party and a lot of their intellectual kings, say, for example, Huey P. Newton and Eldridge Cleaver and so on and so forth, that one of the key figures who had the biggest influence on the Black radical movement in the United States was the author of the 1961 work, Wretched of the Earth, which is a man by the name of Frantz Fanon. And I'm pretty sure we've all heard the name Frantz Fanon. And Frantz Fanon was one of the four pillars. This is the term that I coined, one of the four pillars of the Black Panther Party. And those pillars were Frantz Fanon, Mao Zedong, Malcolm X, and Che Guevara. Those were the four pillars of the Black Panther Party. They say as much. Wow. Okay. And so this is where this Black conscious rap comes from. And I'm probably going to unpack this term consciousness, and I'll end it here. And to go back to Jean-Paul Sartre very quickly, because Jean-Paul Sartre was a big influence on the American left in the 1960s. He wrote the preface for Frantz Fanon's 1961 quote-unquote classic work, The Wretched of the Earth. And in the preface, I'll just give you a quote of Jean-Paul Sartre in Frantz Fanon's work, The Wretched of the Earth. Jean-Paul Sartre said, quote, "Killing a European is killing two birds with one stone." You may be thinking, what does he mean by that? What he means is, in one go oppressor and oppress, leaving one man dead and the other man free. So when you kill a European, you're killing him and you are dying to your old self your enslaved self because you have now become liberated.
My God.
And what he was speaking in reference to specifically was French colonial domination over the country of Algeria during the Algerian independence movement, which was really a communist movement in disguise, led by the Arabian communist Ben Bella. But again, when you think about hip hop, you don't think about all that stuff that I just
You
outlined.
don't
But
think
that's
about
where a
all
lot of
that
it comes
stuff.
from.
No, you don't. And I just
But that's why I'm here.
we certainly appreciate it. Just to finish my original thought on that, that is exactly why I feel so strongly about not letting the devil have God's stuff. Because I said this before, and then I think I had said it on one of our shows, but I've certainly said it in the past. And then I heard Chuck say it in a much more brilliant way than I could ever. But the idea that it's not, we should be fighting to, if we really believe what we believe, we should be fighting to protect it because we understand how precious it is. And part of that fight is putting a barrier, pushing back with music, with art, in that realm. And when I say realm, I mean in the artistic world. Basically, I firmly believe that it's something to protect. It is. It's not. It's fighting not just to keep it. It's fighting to protect it, from those who wish to destroy it. They really do. Like, sometimes, not to get all like girl on you and emotional, but it's okay. I can do it
for you. Look, I'm here for you.
I was listening to Joy Reid. Y'all might have heard. So the 10 Commandments have just been put into Louisiana. They're gonna display. Display, not read it, not make the kids recite it, not just display the 10 Commandments. Joy Reid goes on this whole entire she loses her mind. This is the same woman that was totally fine with a book that was talking about essay, the R word and the essay of a child. That book was okay to read, for children to actually consume.
It won an award. It won an award. You didn't know?
Yes. Oh, but this book, it's a pillar of, literary,
Triumph,
success.
literary triumph.
Right. And I'm just like, we have to fight against that. That is evil. That is evil. I am sorry. I'm not sorry.
Yeah,
I believe we have to be in these fights. Okay, go ahead.
I don't disagree with what you're saying and the sentiment of what you say. I totally get it. I guess at my big age, like Chuck, I'm 40, so I just kind of look at it a little bit different. I definitely have come to a point in my spiritual walk that my sheep know my voice and another they will not follow. And the Bible says, like you were saying, Chad, is like Satan being the prince of the air. I kind of look at it like he goes about as a roaring lion seeking whom he can devour. And unfortunately, I don't believe that is our fight. Like they will hate us. They love sin, they love degeneracy, they love destruction. And yes, ideally America was founded on biblical principles. It was. But the Bible also talks about a little bit of leaveneth the whole lump. And so we are fighting from every day where we have given up small little things. Let's just even take it back to, prayer in the prayer in schools. Like once you give that up, something will fill that void. And unfortunately, I don't believe that you can hang the 10 commandments on every child's forehead. And it's not going to make it. I don't even understand why Christians are so excited or even sad or angry. Like it literally means nothing because these things are not being enforced in the classroom. These things are not being taught. And I heard, Christians, saying, yay, we won, kind of like black folks with Obama. We won. We didn't win anything. We have completely lost control of this fight. And I'm not sure how they feel like displaying the 10 commandments. That is not the formula that God says that he will turn the nation. The formula is such: if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. And so until we're trying to do that, then it's just like, we're constantly in this kind of, we need to, we need to fight like they fight, or we need to make our music more better. I don't know any rapper that's harder than Bizzle. Like Bizzle is hard. Like I love.
I don't even know who that is, Chris.
Oh my God, you have got to listen. I think teach him, Chuck.
Send me tell.
You will love Bizzle.
All right.
Oh my God, I love that man. But there are songs out there. They're beautiful songs. They are, wonderful, inspiring songs. But yet and still, we've cheapened the gospel so much that we're sitting up here listening to freaking Kanye. Like we got churches playing, Kanye's song. And that's unfortunately where our culture has become. We desire for the world to love us so bad. And I'm to the point where, like you said, Chuck, it's like it's in my mental roll it, like that stuff.
Yeah,
back in the days, I can spout it out. One of my favorite songs was "How's It Going Down" by DMX, and it starts off with "I'm calling ticking with this chicken, wondering if I'm a creeper." From 25th, named Tamika. So I'm talking to people who are my age, mind you. These people are Christians, and when DMX died, they were somber. They were so sad, and I'm looking at them, and they're like, "Crystal, he was really spiritual. He was really deep." And I'm like, y'all are so full of crap. I love chocolate cake. I love chocolate cake. I don't love chocolate cake. I love chicken wings. Let's go there. I love chicken wings. The
All
day
flat.
all
Lemon
flat,
pepper.
Papa, shout out to French with a sweet tea. The day that I walk around telling you that that's good is the day that I've sold my soul. I am an enemy to the people. And that's where the church is.
Well, I mean, not to belabor this point. I mean, the Bible also says, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And what I'm not saying is that a display of the 10 Commandments is going to change the whole entire public school system, but it is just like the flag. There's a reason why they hang flags there. The LGBTQ, even the American flag. There's a reason why these symbols are there. It is a constant reminder, and if that flag is going to be there, I mean, something of the Lord should be there. Like there should be something to. I just don't believe in just like letting these people have just have that ground. Like we are looked at as soldiers, and that this is a war. And yes, things happen in the spiritual, but they also happen in the natural. Like there are literal people. When the Bible talks about Christians being persecuted, it's going to be in the natural. You know what I mean? Like it's already happening. And so what does that mean? We're supposed to just lay down? Like I'm just not like that. And then the other thing,
Can I go now?
I wanted to say just really quick, hope deferred makes the heart sick, the Bible says. And so, yeah, maybe my hope is in Christ, but I know while I am here, I am to occupy until he comes. And so I'll be about my Father's business until he say it's time to go. So let me go ahead and play. Oh,
I just wanted to say real quick, since Crystal brought up DMX, again, I wasn't like, wailing and gnashing of teeth when he died, but I don't know if he was saved or not, but I just wanted to give a shout out to DMX for the one song he did make that still to this day moves me, and that song is Ready to Meet Him. I don't know if you ever heard the song Ready to Meet Him. DMX, of course, he has a ton of songs, and it's picky, whatever. We already know he wasn't consistent with his messaging. I mean, what rapper is, one moment they're trying to quote unquote uplift the community, next minute they're talking about, selling dope and committing drive-bys. But that one song, even today when I listen to it, as a mature man and not, some high school kid, I try to find flaws in that song. Like, is there something in this song that doesn't really jive or doesn't really mesh with my spirit? And I haven't really found anything yet with that song. So I just want to give DMX, rest in peace, props for at least that one song. That's my favorite DMX song is Ready to Meet Him. I really like that song. But anyway, maybe I need to go repent for that. I don't know, but I like that song.
I want to say a few things. Hold on real quick. Sorry about that. So a couple of verses come to mind for me. Number one is, broad is the road and narrow is the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is, if the world hates you, remember it hated me first.
Yep.
And then another one is, you are to hate the world and love God, and you can't love both.
Can't.
And then finally, Ephesians 2, verse 2, that once you were ensnared by the prince of the power of the air. And I actually want to read that verse verbatim so as to not butcher it. Starting verse 1 of Ephesians 2. And you were dead in the trespasses and sins in which you once walked, following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience, among whom we all once lived in the passions of our flesh, carrying out the desire of the body and the mind, and were by nature children of the wrath, like the rest of mankind.
Mm.
Okay. So why would Ephesians 2, like why would it refer to Satan as the prince of the power of the air? What is the air? Well, the air is the hegemony. The air is the environment. The air is the power structure and all that is under which we are governed and under which we are influenced by and entertained by, and this, that, and the third. All of these things are ran by men who are who? The sons of disobedience, right? I hearken back to something Vody said in Uncle Tom too. You have a lot of people who are fighting to take back the education system, not realizing the fact that the very purpose from the beginning and the centralizing of education was to secularize America's youth. That was the very purpose from the very beginning. And so I understand when Christians say we need to take this back and take that back, but very rarely do we ask the question, for what purpose was entertainment commodified to begin with? Was it commodified for the advancing of human society?
No.
I don't think so. The whole purpose of commodifying it was to, I mean, I hate to sound like a socialist or a Marxist, but to make a profit, and to make profit off the backs of human desires and the human passions and the desire for mankind to indulge and to interact in all manner of disobedience. That was the whole purpose of it. And again, I understand where you are coming from, Quisha. I'm not coming for you, but at the same time, I think that it is, in a sense, a fool's errand to set our sights on the institutions and at the expense of seeking and searching for souls and being fishers of men. And I feel like there's ways you can do that on the peer-to-peer level without, trying to fight this feudal fight of taking back the institutions, because the institutions are once again ruled by the prince of the air. There's nothing new under the sun. And you can go, as far back and beyond as a Roman Empire. Yes, you had these kind of moments of felicity, moments of jubilee, in a sense, where everything seemed to be on the up and up as far as human civilization is concerned. But at the end of the day, these things are cyclical and they repeat themselves, and you have degeneracy and decadence, and that ultimately led to the fall of Rome. That ultimately led to the fall of every empire since Rome.
Yeah.
The fact that man is a creature who inevitably gives in to his own passions. And this is a reason why the cross is so important. And we as believers are to take up our cross daily, and we are to testify daily in hopes that we might reach our neighbor, that they might be saved from this dark and dying world that is ruled once again by the prince of the power of the air. We are given salvation from that. And the fact is, you're still going to have Disney, you're still going to have Hollywood, you're still going to have hip hop culture, you're still going to have all these things that that are used as tools in Satan's attempt to still kill and destroy. And my thing is, I'm not going to knock what a person's what God put on a person's heart in order to what their fight is, if that makes sense. But as far as me and my household, like, I have to focus on, first and foremost, being sanctified, and secondly, using whatever voice we have and whatever influence we have to preach Christ and Him crucified, irrespective of what's going on in Hollywood and what's going on in the schools.
I'm not like focused on Hollywood. I'm not even I'm talking about I mean music, just wherever it may be, because we have worship songs, and I don't know how. There are some worship songs that just move me. Music is so spiritual, it is such a thing that does move you more than music. Movies can move you as well. Art can move you. These things go beyond just they are spiritual. That is why we have to be there, because they're spiritual. And I'm not talking about trying to reform Hollywood. I'm talking about the art form of music, the art form of art, like drawings and sculptures and things, and just some things are, God has given these things to man.
Right, but when you say we let them have it,
yes,
I don't know that that's entirely true, because the thing is, good music, God honoring music, still exists.
Oh yeah.
Just because whack, decadent, sinful, vile music is popular in this dark and dying world made up of people who don't know the Lord, doesn't mean we let them have music. You know what I mean? Like, there's still talented artists who love the Lord who are still making fine music. Just because the radio stations and Spotify don't pick them up and pump them in the algorithm doesn't mean that we gave it up.
Now
The world is fallen, and it's going to do fallen things.
Of course. I'm not. What I'm saying is, and I'm not doing a very good job of articulating exactly what I mean, because I'm not. But I'm not trying to change those institutions those things that have literally come from the devil.
Yeah.
Like, or I'm sorry, they are a perversion of God's thing. I'm not trying to change the perversion. I'm saying, believers, when God has given you a talent to go pursue these things, that you do them. Like, you would be surprised, Chad. The music that we do see as from Christians, even when I was coming up, like, there is a lot of pressure if you have talent to not do the talent, because they think that the very thing that you want to do is of the devil. You know, oh, you want to be a singer? Oh, that's of the devil. You know what I mean? And so people will come at you.
Yeah.
It's I'm just saying that
I understand what you're saying, Quisha. I do.
Me too.
I don't want
I
to
do.
go down that road. All I'm saying is, I don't care whatever you are called to do, whatever gift that you may have. Yours, Chad, you do movies. You also write. Chuck, he writes as well. He's a brilliant thinker. These things, they need, like, your voices, your talent needs to be protected, because this is what you will pass. You're protecting it to have something to pass on to your kids.
Yeah.
Like, what are we supposed to do? Just let the devil have it? Like, I don't understand. Like, where does that end? If we're not supposed to be fighting for God, fighting to protect God's things, fighting to preserve those things, what exactly are we leaving? Like, what kind of world are we to leave to our kids? Just like, let them just, oh, well, y'all are just gonna have to, you know, I don't know. I just don't.
Well, I think
that doesn't fit with me.
Well, I agree. I agree with you to the extent of, you know, like, yeah, we as Christians have to show up and show out and you know, be exalted and be fearless. I mean, if God be for you, who can be against you? I was watching oh God, Kevin Sorbo. Like, have you guys been following his career lately? It's been really cool, because he talks about him being a Christian, him being a conservative, and him speaking out against that and doing the very same thing that you said, Quisha. Like, he's making his own movies. He said that Hollywood is so demonic. He's gotten cut from so many plays that he started actually just kind of going his own way. He does a lot of showing up on Real America's Voice. And he said, he was like, I got canceled a lot, but I also found my voice in these other independent spaces. So I hear what you're saying, and I don't think anybody is saying that that what you're saying is not correct. I agree. I am a fight back kind of Christian, so I'm with you there with that, girl. But at the same time, I have come to the realization that this what we call as the United States of America is going on a journey in a very destructive manner. And it is, you know, the Christian's job to preach Christ and him crucified. And my sheep know my voice. Like they're either gonna come or they're not.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just saying, like, we have, you know, one, what is it? One plants, one waters, but God gives the increase. You know, we got to be planting and water, Randy, is what I'm saying. and however God has instructed you to plant and water.
It's like,
yeah. Did somebody else have?
No, I think just to add another layer to this discussion, as far as I think, Quisha, what I'm hearing you say is that, you know, human beings are imbued with talent, you know, in certain gifts, and I think there's a question arises from that, is, you know, what should one who wants to do the right thing, or right by God, to be more specific, what should one do with those gifts, and what should one do with those talents? For me, it's and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not hearing you say that, but you know, music, and I mean, once upon a time, and I hate to be the guy, you know, I'm always kind of coming with these off the wall things, but I mean, once upon a time, you know, music was something that that I guess, I mean, we would call them intellectuals, or call the person intellectual by today's standards. But you know, millennia ago, I mean, music was something that intellectuals dealt with, because they understood that, you know, music is kind of like we talked about it before, how it can sort of move your soul. It's like unarticulated rantings of the soul. And the gift and the skill of music is something that philosophers dealt with, because they understood how important it was. And it brings me back to, you know, just the late 17th or late 18th century and the Enlightenment, and some of Rousseau's criticisms about this kind of newly formed, what he perceived to be a submission, if you will, to man's lower nature. Because there's something about art and culture, so Rousseau believed, that sort of separated man from everything else, that separated man from the animal, right? Man's ability to create culture. And that this new dawn of reason, or this new dawn of rationalism, and this is why I referred to those individuals in the montage as myth makers, because, you know, Rousseau, even when, you know, fast forward to Germany, and, you know, I brought up, you know, Nietzsche, and even and Heidegger, even after that, was sort of like this restoration of ancient Greek thought and the importance of myth making in culture and values. And what Rousseau was turned off by was this what he perceived to be almost like this newfound obsession throughout the West with commercialization, commodities, and so on and so forth. This attitude that, you know, we must, and when you understand, when you really go back, and this is something that a project that I've been doing recently over the last several months, is going back, revisiting Rousseau, and really trying to get a deep sense of how he felt, and what he was thinking, and how the world looked to him at the time. And, you know, of course, I understood this in the past as well, but, you know, Rousseau, who was pretty much seen as almost like one of the early kind of founding fathers of the modern left, if you will, because when you hear even people talk about Karl Marx, you will inevitably hear them bring up Rousseau if they are someone who's done their homework. But Rousseau was right in some of his criticisms of the Enlightenment, and some of the the trajectory that he saw Western civilization on. Some of his criticisms were in fact correct, and the light bulb went off in my head when I heard Chad, you know, just pretty much talk about how, you know, sort of like these market forces being at play here, because ultimately, you know, people want what they want. But Rousseau would ultimately say, well, why do people want what they want, and why have we allowed man to submit and surrender the fight within his own consciousness to try and achieve the impossible virtue, because man is more than an animal based upon consumption, and his need for comfort, and his need to survive and to stave off death, or to delay the inevitable, which is death, which is something that, of course, every man fears. So it's a very deep discussion, and, you know, perhaps I mean, it just proves once again that there's nothing new under the sun, because the same thing that we're talking about today, peoples in other centuries and other times have talked about these same things as well.
Yeah, Chuck, there's a quote by Andrew Fletcher that I actually heard Candace Owens saying. It says, "Let me write the songs of a nation. I care less who makes its laws." And basically it says that, yeah, like what you're saying, they knew that they could influence people's behavior by songs and music. And I think my issue, going back to what we're talking about with the conscious rappers, that there is some kind of like way that they think that they are the intelligent ones, and they're the masters behind it. And they're not like, and we even cater to we kind of pander to to Black culture when we say, oh, you know, these musicians, they're really intelligent. They're, you know, the guy with tattoos all of his face, you know, he's actually really a smart dude. Like, I mean, and then you have the so-called Black bourgeoisie. I call them bougie Blacks. The Michael Eric Dysons that I used to just admire so much, sitting there talking to Nipsey Hussle and like, yo, the
Right, like, yeah.
ink all over your body. I mean, like, you know, I want a tattoo, right? I thought about getting a tattoo on my forehead too. Like, no, you didn't, bro. You didn't.
Right. No, you didn't. Chris, I wrote down, I BS you not, I wrote down.
Did you see how
him.
he was talking like this and like he was bouncing around? Like, what are you doing?
I'm really cool. You know, I'm like, with glasses and fat and lame. And you know, like, I'm cool though. I'm down with the homies.
I wrote down in my notes as the montage was playing. I just said here, I said the left-wing mind, the leftist mind is a childish mind. And that's something that, you know, I heard Dennis Prager say something similar. He may have said those exact words, but the leftist mind is a childlike mind. For Michael Eric Dyson, this man is, you know, some, you know, Ivy League educator, you know, sitting there, you know, talking about how, I mean, you know, it's funny how this man is old enough to be Nipsey Hussle's grandfather, and there he is. I mean, you know, this kind of, and it's funny because it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Because it seems to me like Michael Eric Dyson's trying to get approval from him, and Nipsey Hussle is looking up to him because he's the academician that puts out these wayward theories into the ether that gives him justification for his pathology, and then it's just this self-perpetuating cycle. It's ridiculous.
We used to call that something back in the day. It was called D-riding. That's what we used to call it. That's what it was, though. You're like jerking.
But I mean, you know, Michael Eric Dyson has always done this. Again, I've read Michael Eric Dyson had a book called I can literally go and pull it out, but I don't want to walk off camera. Michael Eric Dyson, I read a book by him called Between God and Gangster Rap. I read Michael Eric Dyson's biography on the life of Tupac Shakur called "Holla If You Hear Me," where throughout the entire book, you know, he's talking about how intelligent and bright Tupac Shakur was. You know, he details a time when he was invited to the home of a woman. I think her first name is Lisa, but I know her last name was Steinberg or Steinbeck. But you know, she was Tupac Shakur.
He sounds like a groupie.
Yeah, she was Tupac Shakur's first. She was Tupac Shakur's first manager, and a friend of his. And to listen to Michael Eric Dyson discuss what he was told by people who allegedly watched Tupac Shakur consume all of this literature and read all of these books. I mean, he read Freud, he read Plato, he read Socrates, he read. I mean, he was just. You know what I mean? I mean, Tupac died when he was 25, 26 years old. And, you know, right. And here is Lisa Steinberg, you know, talking about, you know, I mean, and then when during the time in which she was closely associated with Tupac Shakur, he was 19, 20, 21 years old. And to listen to Michael Eric Dyson talk about Tupac as though, I mean, you would have thought that the man had 5 lives for him to have read all of this literature, because Michael Eric Dyson claimed that he was shown Tupac Shakur's personal library, and there's no way Tupac Shakur, even if he read all of those books, there's no way that he could have comprehended them. But you know, let Michael Eric Dyson tell it. You know, Tupac Shakur was one of the brightest men that ever lived, and Tupac Shakur was a dullard. You know, and of course,
Michael Eric Dyson, I'm sure he was.
And Michael Eric Dyson, of course, he also wrote a book that I purchased and read called "I Was Born to Use Mics." That was one of Nas's opening lines on a song called "New York State of Mind" on his classic album Illmatic. So he wrote an entire book breaking down the cultural relevance and the importance of Nas's debut album Illmatic. So this is something that Michael Eric Dyson, you know, this is what he does. You know, he loves to you know, buddy and bump elbows with all of these you know, black rappers. He's like he's like the old grandpa.
And I love shout out to like Tupac, may he rest in peace. I love him, but you can't tell me somebody is intelligent and they can't stay out of prison. I'm sorry, you're disqualified. You straight up DQ'd.
Yeah,
There
was a documentary that was done. I'm trying to find the title of it, but I can't find it anywhere. But it's about this white guy, who basically is addicted to going to school and getting degrees, getting PhDs. He got, I think, he passed the bar exam. He got a medical license. He got all kinds of degrees. He doesn't do anything with them. He just wants to get all the degrees he can get. And I'm watching this thing, and then maybe like halfway through it, he's giving like after the documentarian talked about how he's smart and he got this degree and that degree and that degree and this degree, it gets to a point where he is now allowed to give his opinion on things. And he's talking about like women should be able to abort their babies up to 9 months, and
That's
we
what
should
all
have
that
a social welfare system and this,
Who
that, and the third.
Some guy in the documentary.
I'm gonna have to find the title of this documentary, but basically that's what it is. It's basically giving validation to his opinions by virtue of the fact that he has all these degrees. And when I hear Chuck talk about what Michael Eric Dyson said of Tupac's library, I think of the same thing, because I'm thinking of Tupac Shakur sitting in that studio talking about how he thinks it should be illegal for a person to be a billionaire. Remember this? I think it should be illegal for a person to be a billionaire. How can you walk by somebody who has less money than you do and you can sleep well at night? If I have some money in my pocket and I walk by a homeless person, I want to give them some mail. And the thing is, like, all of what Michael Eric Dyson is saying is supposed to give authority to Tupac when he talks about Marxism. When he talks about communism and globalism. It's supposed to give validation to it, because look, here's someone who's learned. Here's someone who studied all the greats, all the great philosophers. Here's someone who is a natural intellect. So if he's talking about we need a social welfare system, if he's talking about we need Marxism and globalism, you should listen to him because he's smarter than the rest of us.
Yep.
I don't know. This is fascinating.
No, I mean,
you're right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they're still doing it today. I mean, you watch 50 Cent, like, 50 Cent went to, the Congress but what did he go there for? 50 Cent's so smart. He's so, vitamin water. He's so smart. Like 50 Cent was on a radio station and he's talking about all the books and stuff that he read, but then he went to Congress to begging for stuff. The blacks don't get their space in like firearms or something, like, so they, like you said, they build them up to be like these so-called leaders in the black community, but then they don't tell you about, like, they show you all the degeneracy that they sell in the rap music, sex, drugs, and all of that, but then they tell you, but this person is really, really smart. Oh, you mean the one that got shot 9 times? You mean the one
breathing?
Yeah. Oh, you talking about the one that keep going in and out of prison? That one? Oh yeah, he's smart. Look at him up there, and then all the Republican congressmen and women were, look at 50 Cent. Dude, do you know what he's there for? He's there to come complain about stuff, and it's just weird. It's weird how they do that.
He they'll be calling him a conservative pretty soon. Let me read the super chats. Thank you so much, Christmas Soul, for the super sticker. Let's see. Jesus loves you. Thank you so much. God bless the chat. Blanche, Chad, Chuck, and Quisha. Thank you so much. We have another member. We need like some confetti when you get another member. Thank you so much, Leatherface. Jero B, $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. And huh?
No, I said that's Jerobi from A Tribe Called Quest. He came here to defend himself.
Lecrae went off the rails to pleasing the world. That's true.
That's true.
Did.
Chuck, Jerobi almost made it in into the Not Jerobi. A
Montage.
Tribe Called Quest almost made it into the montage, but I decided to try to keep it short.
Yeah, we're
All
gonna
right,
get on there
so,
too.
to irritate you guys.
Well,
here we
hold
go.
on.
So
Keisha.
you know, this is.
What?
Sorry. Before you get to the clips, I don't know. Maybe this is a touchy subject. Maybe we might offend somebody, but I'm going to go there anyway. What do you think of some of the so-called Christian rap or MAGA rap that's out there right now?
Right now,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually heard it. I don't know of any that's out right now. By the looks of it, I'm glad I don't know.
Nah, I mean, Crystal swears by Bizzle.
Bizzle? No, I know. Okay, so
hold on.
I only heard one song though, but he's talented.
Before we go on in the panel with this conversation, chat, what do y'all think of a lot of the MAGA rap or Christian rap that's out there right now? I'm interested in hearing your guys' opinion. All right, go ahead, Quisha.
Okay, so out of everybody, hands down, Bryson Gray is talented. Bryson Gray can rap. That boy got skills. No, Bryson is. I know he started with like the MAGA stuff, but homeboy is very talented. Bryson, you can tell Bryson could rap whatever, he would be a good rapper even if he wasn't doing that. Like some of these people you only hear because you doing that. You know what I mean?
Do you think
some actually have talent?
Do you think there's a low bar for MAGA rap or Christian rap?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, because there's not enough supply. So whatever gets through is a lot of trash because there's not enough people who actually can rap and who are willing to stick to their who won't sell out, who actually do have the talent to put it out.
I mean, I'll just say this, and of course, Bryson, he came to mind. There's another guy. He looks like a white guy, but he got like a lot of tattoos and like gold teeth. I think he's from down in Florida somewhere. He putting out a lot of stuff. And there's this new he's a MAGA rapper, black guy with like this big chain, I think, with like a Donald Trump head on it, maybe, or something. Something's on. I don't know. I saw that guy. Yeah.
Man,
then I remember that one. Yeah. Then that one guy had a song. What was it? Something about Biden. F Joe Biden. Something like. Anyway. So I see it, but I don't. I don't know. I don't know much about it, and I think I even may have heard the guy Bizzle's name, and maybe somebody even sent me a song to listen to once upon a time, I think. But yeah, and let me just say, because somebody in the chat said, I have to admit, I still bump a Tribe Called Quest from time to time. I mean, and so do I. I mean, this was the song. I mean, that's my formative years where that was the backdrop. The hip hop culture, that was the backdrop of my upbringing. I mean, so do I. I'm not here saying that, I'm holier than thou, and I'm waving the sword of Damocles at anyone who dares listen to a rap song. That's not what I'm doing. Maybe that's another part of the conversation. But I just wanted to say that, and this is another thing that I hear people say when they talk about whether it's Christian music, and I don't know, Chad had a live yesterday where he discussed the difference between conservatism and Christianity, and whether we're talking Christianity or conservatism. I hear a lot of people say, well, there are Christian artists out there are conservative artists out there, but they don't put out good stuff. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's not true, but they say, well, the left does culture better. They do art better. And, part of me sort of wonders if that's true. I think that there's a bit of a barrier, because I think people and I think intellectuals and artists have this in common. And I said this on this show before. It was a long time ago. But people who have a high creative IQ I think at times, I mean, yes, you know, it does sort of become a runaway train, because oftentimes artists feel as though they don't have to be bound by convention. And that goes too with this whole idea, of course, that God's law is objective and God creates reality, and God sets very strict parameters wherein he wants you to function. And so when the artists may sort of rebel against that because they may feel as though it undermines their creativity, it undermines their art if they have to play by a certain set of rules. But the problem with that is, and I understand that almost that instinct, that proclivity, I get it. But when something goes beyond, when it goes too far, and then there is no reference point, no objective reference point, so that we as onlookers can judge whether or not that is good art, well, then it's no longer art at all. It's kind of like this whole idea of postmodernism and this whole question of, well, what is art? You know, we see it now in modern architecture and quote unquote modern art. You know, we saw this with, you know, early movements, you know, that was spearheaded by artistic quacks like Pollock. I think it was Jackson Pollock and so on. So
like
it just like throw up on a canvas, you know, and these paintings go for millions of dollars. So there are others involved in that movement as well. Again, and you kind of see running concurrently within art this kind of embrace of postmodernism on an intellectual level, right? And you know, a lot of that has to do, you know, when you look at your typical standard Marxist, and a lot of the kind of postmodernist sensibilities that they borrow, because I'm gonna borrow an idea or phrase, I guess you can call it, that I hear James Lindsay say when he talks about how to identify Marxism. You simply have to think about the thing that is being owned. The piece of human capital itself can be considered a commodity if that particular commodity is legitimized or validated by some overarching superstructure that allows certain people to enter into the citadels. And what I mean is that if you're told that in order to be considered a good artist, you have to do things this way, right? And people see those who are actually good at singing or good at doing whatever being rewarded for this gift. You have people that, you know, they're off. This happens throughout human history, you know, with these various artistic revolutions where people will go, we're no longer abiding by your standards. That's the old way of doing things. And you're trying to keep up the status quo by trying to suggest that there is a standard way of doing things. Well, maybe there isn't. But the reason why you're saying that there is a standard way of doing things is so that you can reward the privileged, and that you can keep those of us who actually want to be artists. You're doing that so that you can keep the rest of us out who don't, you know, who don't fit the standard, who don't buy, you know. And so eventually, when they give way to the rabble, then it spreads like wildfire, and it corrupts all of the society, because what becomes mainstream is the kind of exaltation of the profane, the exaltation of the ugly. And I'm talking architecture, I'm talking painting, I'm talking music, I'm talking fashion, I'm talking everything. Because when you adore the ugly, you corrupt the soul. And that's what they understand. The truth goes back to Emmanuel Kant. It goes back to the great religious thinkers: the good, the true, the beautiful. That's what the gifts are meant to do. But you have people who have taken this Marxian. This is why leftism is so pervasive in so many ways that people don't understand. It's like postmodernism. That's not music. That's not art. That's not fashion. That's not dancing. If you could just get on the mic and just, you know, get on a microphone and just scream and wail like Yoko Ono, that's not singing. Well, who decides what is singing? Well, you do. Quisha King can sing. Well, who says that's good singing? Like, again, that's the underlying narrative and theme of postmodernism. Because what we decide, what society quote unquote decides is good, or what society determines as valid, is merely a question of power, which means the person who gets to determine what the standard is the oppressor. And
See,
so
I had said that. That's exactly what I said.
I'll say this. I'll say I don't believe that Christian rappers are less
I
talented.
totally changed the subject, Chad. My bad. You had us on one thing and I took us somewhere else.
So I'm going back. So I
Go
don't
ahead, Quisha. Crystal, bring us back.
I don't believe that Christian rappers are less talented. I think that some of the ones that are, I mean, just incredibly talented are going against what people want. I mean, like, it's kind of like, I don't care how great vegetables taste. I know you remember they started to do those cauliflower wings. They don't taste like, they don't taste like wings. And if wings is what you want, I don't care if you put them in form.
Are you a wing connoisseur?
I am.
Yeah. I like some wings too now.
Me too. I'm such a fat girl, y'all. I'm working. God is working on me.
I like some wings too now.
So I don't care how much you put them in form, they don't taste like the same thing. And I think you have to change your desires as a Christian. And so I really do not think that it's the music that is missing or that it's corny. Like the MAGA rap, yeah, you're right, it's corny and it comes into like worship. But like true Christian rap, like if you don't desire to listen to the filth that's on there, but you still like the rhymes and you like the hard beats and stuff like that, then the Christian rap is what you got. And you talk about Jesus and you talk about lifestyle and you talk about love, but that's pretty much it. I'm sorry, we can't include drugs. We can't so they have a vast plethora of what they can talk about when it's not Christian rap. And maybe
But do you think a lot of the Christian rap that is out there is as well produced as like a Drake or a Kendrick Lamar or any of the artists that are out there today? I mean, do you think that it's as good? Or do you think a lot of the Christian rap that's out there today is as well audio engineered and produced as
a lot of the ones that are producing, the secular ones are producing that they work. There's only a certain amount of record labels. They're either they work all for the same people. Sony has a gospel genre department. They have a gospel department, and they producers will they'll work with whoever, record mates, label mates. You work with, it's not the production,
it's the content.
It's not
it's not gonna feel as good. It's not gonna feel as it's not gonna feel as good as you talking about laying up with this chick, or it's not gonna feel as good. Like, it's just not gonna feel as good. It's a different feeling. But I'm telling, as far as the production, I've heard some really great production in a lot of these rappers. But like my husband's an artist, he's like, I just can't get with it. It's corny. And I'm like, it's not corny. It's not corny. It's cauliflower wings. I'm sorry, you're off beat. It's doing the best that it can to satisfy your craving for, rap music, but it just never will.
Yeah,
I mean, we played Stevie Rizzo and The Countdown, and I think his music is really good and very well produced. So,
oh yeah, it's hot. I loved it. And Bizzle, there's another Andy Mineo. Do y'all like Andy? Oh my God, he has a song that's really old, but it's called Fool's Gold. I love it. Like, the beats are hot, the lines are catchy, but it's not going to satisfy what what most people crave.
But then to Keisha's point, though, I mean, you have a lot of these Christian artists who turn secular, and a lot of these Christian artists, I mean, like Lecrae, like Shylin, and others, like, they go down this woke route, or this woke journey. And for me, the question becomes, like, for what? Like, for why? For why are you doing this? Is it because you are trying to basically ascend in your career, and you understand that the only way to do that is to appeal to a larger secular audience? Like, what's the purpose of this? I mean, you saw it too with Sam Cooke and with Aretha Franklin. Not so much Aretha Franklin. Did she start off in the church? Aretha
Yeah,
Franklin?
Aretha Franklin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She started off in the church.
Come on now, Chad. Now, Chad.
Hey, I'm not
Your
that big
daddy
of a
was a
connoisseur
pastor, yes.
of all things black, but you know.
You're not you.
Nah, we don't do the blacks. Sorry.
Interesting tidbit, guys. You bring up Aretha Franklin in 1968. It's funny how the weird, strange bedfellows and the tangled web we weave, as the old saying goes. The Republic of New Africa. The Republic of New Africa was an organization, started by the biological father of Sekiwa Shakur, who was, Tupac Shakur's half sister. So, he considered Mutulu Shakur to be his stepfather. But yes, the inaugural meeting of it was kind of like this kind of new kind of Afro-Marxist movement. And of course, we know what happened with Mutulu Shakur and his subsequent conviction for his heist, for his failed Brinks truck heist in 1980. But yeah, the inaugural meeting for the Republic of New Africa took place in 1968 at the church of Aretha Franklin's father here in Detroit. So I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit.
Well, I mean, we all know what was happening with churches. So, I mean,
yeah.
It's I mean, this is why, there was nobody and I mean this on so many levels. We weren't manning our post, like who was manning the gate? Where was the deacon?
Like, the thing is, it's not so much like, I don't know. I guess, Quisha, to take it back to that, and I'm glad you did, because I didn't want to be the one to do it, but since you did.
Look, I love a good debate. You can, I mean,
but listen, one of my favorite songs of all times is by Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers. It's called Let Us Go Back to God.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a beautiful song. It's all a cappella. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. You forget it's a cappella, really, because of how harmonious the vocal. Anyway, but Sam Cooke went from that to being to having his voice as one of the pieces of the soundtrack of the civil rights movement, which we all know is subversive and satanic and ultimately detrimental to Western civilization. But we'll set that over here. When it comes to Quisha, to your point of letting of unmanning the post, really, Sam Cooke, who was gifted to a talent, with a talent, we know, because if I brought up Ephesians 2, which talks about Satan being the prince of the power of the air. But if you continue reading in that same chapter, it talks about how we are God's handiwork. So to your point, Quisha, God has gifted us with talents. He's gifted us with the ability to blow. He's gifted us with the ability to learn music and to create these beautiful pieces and to do audio engineering and producing and things of this nature. But many of us, we in a sense, bastardize our talents and our skills and employ those talents and skills for the furthering of Satan's kingdom more so than God's kingdom. But in my opinion, that's a personal choice by said artist or audio engineer or producer or what have you. So is it a thing of us unmanning our post, or is it a thing of these individual artists decided to use their talents once again in the employment of the furthering of the agenda of the prince of the power of the air, as opposed to using their talents and their skills to give glory to God? I mean, is it more of an individual thing, or is it a thing of we have collectively unmanned the post?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, because I think that's why the Bible presses so hard about oh gosh, I just had the scripture and I lost it. Being able to defend your faith. So a lot of these worlds, like when you leave your home and you're like, okay, I'm going out into the world, whether it be college, whether it be work, whether it be all these other things, their influence is there. So now you're out and about, and now here comes someone with this new idea. And then when you try to put it against what you grew up with, like for instance, if it was Christianity, which is a lot of what we were taught, when these intellectuals, or when these more worldly people start to present these ideas to you, and you've never been taught a defense of your for your faith, you don't know how to defend some of these harder questions. And when you don't know, you have no reference point, nobody has ever said any of this stuff to you, and you're seeing what they say, you're like, this is kind of interesting. And you may take that back to your family. This happened to me. I feel like I say this, like when kids go to college, you better arm your kids with the word of God and teach them how to defend their faith, because it's like the enemy is standing there at the gates, ready to pounce on every Christian that walks through the door. They're like, I feel like they send their minions on to go all after the Christian kids. But when you are presented with these tough questions and you've never been able, you go back home and they can't even answer them for you, you start to lean, oh, well, maybe this does make sense. You start to kind of listen to these different things. And yes, it does. It doesn't have to always, but it can influence you, especially when there's no other thing that's pushing back. Actually, no, evolution is not right, and here is why. Actually, no, that doesn't make sense, and give it, providing a defense. And that's why I love Christian apologetics. But so I think, yeah, you can, or don't go to those universities. Exactly, or to the public schools, homeschool your kids. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. You got this talent, you go out into the world, you start having conversations and stuff. People start pushing back. It gets in your ear. It's not guarded. There's nothing back at home to kind of, help you see straight. And it doesn't mean you stay on that path the whole time. Like we're watching people in a journey. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean that you stay on that path the entire time. Some people do get delivered. Some people do. Some and some continue on. So
hey, Quisha, do you believe that the gay man was delivered?
Yes, he was. He said that he liked
women.
He said, I like cat. He said, I like cat. He on a recent interview. He was like, I
don't like men's no more.
I don't know that. And he meowed. Did you see it, Chad? He was like, "Oh, I like cat now." Meow.
Yo, he gay as all get out.
I don't know what to do.
Look, I am not the righteous judge of that man.
I don't like men's no more. I like children. That's why I be saying I'm not black no more. I've been delivered.
Oh my goodness.
I am not the righteous judge of that man's soul.
Andrew, what's his last name? Andrew something.
I don't know, but
what I will say,
prayer.
What I will ask,
that's a viral moment that'll never die, boy.
What I will ask Quisha is this. I guess my question is, and I hear your heart when you say it, but I wonder, what does it mean to defend your faith? Like I particularly do not feel like it's my job to defend my faith. I'm a Bible believer, and if it's in the Bible, I believe it's the inerrant word of God. So a lot of times people are talking back and forth to me, and I ask them, do you believe the Bible? And they say, well, I believe the Bible, but, and I say, okay, then there's nothing for us to really discuss. And I think that Christians find themselves in this trap to defend a perfect gospel to people who have no desire to understand it or do it or listen to it, because what they would know is that the word is offensive. It says the word offends the hearts of men. And so when people when I get into this like discussion, the first thing that I do is I say, do you believe the Bible is the inerrant word of God? Yes, but I don't believe. Then nothing I say is going to convince you otherwise. So Godspeed. And I think that us Christians need to get comfortable with that, because like Chad mentioned, is that we have to understand that some peoples are going to be like that seed. You know, it's going to fall. It's not going to germinate. And we have to know that this perfect gospel can make their lives better if they want to, and they wonder why they're struggling. But what happens is we have a lot of people that are saying that they're Christians, and I would say to them, I wouldn't serve your God. I would not serve your God. And so we're mad at the world for not listening to this great gospel that we have no idea about. We don't even know it. And they're like, you don't listen to me. You don't understand. It's like, I would not serve your God. I don't know. That's what I feel when you say defend the gospel. I'm like, what's there to defend? It's nothing to defend.
Well, so
Right.
When the Bible, 1 Peter 3:14 says, the 14th verse says, but and if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled, but sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer or defense to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Let me read 16. Having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Christ. And so 15 in particular, be always ready to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope. Like, what is this thing that you have, you know, that you have joy when there's trouble, you have hope when there seems to be no reason to hope, and you can share why you have the hope that you have. And so it's not defense in the way of like you are defending like I'm gonna, you know, like you are giving it, you're answering a question. But you are able to defend your position of why you believe what you believe. You know, because if we can't, you know, we should be able to explain why we believe what we believe. I mean, God is a God of reason. Like, he's logical, he's reasonable, he's intentional. He has characteristics that we can help someone who is seeking to be able to cling on to that hope that we have. Maybe they didn't come from a family that it was taught to them. Maybe they didn't come from you know, who only knows. Like I think about the people in China, you know, when those Bibles are dropped off in these, you know, to them, and they go in these caves to read it because like some of these people can barely even read English, but they know that there is something in this book, because we've seen and we've heard about these other nations that have experienced, you know, something. So what is this thing? And when we encounter people who are seeking, like, yeah, I think we should be ready to provide an answer. And we ought to know what we're talking about. You know, we should spend time in the word. We should. It's not just for us to get, you know, it's not just for us to have individually, but to share that with our fellow, you know, our neighbor, our fellow man, because it is good. You know, it is good news. Just like you would spread gossip. Why wouldn't we spread the good news? Absolutely. So that's all.
Yeah. No. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you, but I think the problem is with the Christians of today. They don't look very different than the sinners. And so they're not ready to give an account for things because they don't know. I mean, they don't even know the Bible that they're reading. So a lot of times you get into a lot of these debates with other Christians. you know, like people that declare themselves to be Christians, I don't necessarily think that you should not answer a question. I think you clarified what I was asking about defending. Yeah, you should answer, you know, and be able to give an account. I think the issue is that a lot of Christians cannot, because they don't read the Bible that they swear that they love and they you know, pledge allegiance to. And I think that that's turning a lot of the people off from the message of the gospel. But yes, I agree with you. Like if somebody asks you a question, you should be able to do that, and do that with the word of God, because the Bible addresses everything. I mean,
it defends itself. Like we don't, it defends itself, but you know, you're just kind of, you're helping them along the way.
Agreed.
Yes. Let's see. Let's get on somebody's nerves.
So you know, this is different than the plane we were on.
Yeah.
When we were kicking it for like 4 hours, chopping it up, and I said, man, this is one of the smartest cats I've ever been. I've been digging your music for a while. A lot of people don't understand, given where you've come from, which is from the hardest of the hard scrabble existence, tough childhood, out here with these gangbangers and so on. But you've recreated yourself lyrically. You've allowed the integrity of your art to stand for you. But not only that, you're not only speaking through the words, but one of the things I noticed when I met you is the beauty of the ink on your body, right?
That's right.
And it tells a story. I remember, you know, Tupac told a story, LeBron has a story, Kobe has a story. What's, of all the tattoos that you have, that you're tatted up, which one is the most significant, the most important, or the most meaningful to you?
I think it's two of them. One of them is on my face. It said, I don't know what side. I think, it's this side. It said God will rise. And so, you know, when I was like 27, I was just riding around with one of my homegirls, and she asked me what my name meant. My first name is Eminem, and it's an East African name. And so I was just like, you know, it's a common name back home, I guess. And she Googled it, and she like, nah, your name means God will rise.
The beauty of the ink on your body sounds gay to me.
Yeah, you could have hit him with a pause.
That's a John Legend. I love Miss Shayla.
I would not be surprised if a lot of these lefty men are very, how you doing? But what was interesting to me, when he said you were gangbanging, you was doing all this. What is funny, Chad? Why are you
Go ahead.
When he says, shoot, y'all made me lose my train of thought. When he says, oh, you were gangbanging and you're doing all this stuff, and then he goes, but you changed lyrically. So you did you just change lyrically, but you were still out there gangbanging, or what? Like what? Because I missed something there. Like you reinvented yourself. I think that's what he said. You reinvented yourself lyrically. But were you still gangbanging though? Because that's the heart of the matter here.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Chuck used the perfect word earlier, which is pathology. Real quick, Chuck, give the audience a definition of what that word means before I continue.
Oh, it's just simply, you know, it's a sickness. You know, if something is pathological, it's a sickness. It's a wrong. It's you know, maybe it's dysfunctional. You know, it may be functioning, but it isn't functioning in the manner in which it was designed to, or the manner in which it should.
Now, let me just ask you this real quick. Let me just ask you this real quick, Chuck. Do you think that Michael Eric Dyson understands it as a pathology, or do you think he understands it as something different?
I think he understands it as a pathology, but he thinks that you know, he can transmogrify it, that he can redeem it some way, somehow. You know, he can redeem this malfunction, because to him, what we commonly refer to as, you know, street or hip hop culture, street culture, prison culture, whatever, it's all kind of wrapped up in this whole tight little package. Of course, you know, Michael Eric Dyson, being the Marxist that he is, of course, you know, he's a materialist in that he kind of projects onto society, or society to him.
Well, before you continue, so recognizing the threat of the larger society, understanding it as a pathology, what do you believe someone like a Michael Eric Dyson sees as a saving grace in the person of a Tupac or a Nipsey Hussle or a Jay-Z or whomever? Like, what do you think he sees in these rappers who can articulate certain points so as to not give the larger society an excuse to recognize what's going on in Black culture as a pathology, if that question makes sense?
Because he is the general that, in his mind, he is the general that gives them their marching orders, because to him, they are the revolutionary vanguard. They are the changers of society. They're the ones that are going to bring forth this kind of we call it, we commonly use the term utopia, whatever that is in Michael Eric Dyson's mind. He thinks that they're the ones that can bring that his ideas to the fore. They can make his ideas a reality. It's the same way in which, you see, these university professors, they either, send their students out to wreak havoc and mayhem. Sometimes they participate themselves. Oftentimes they participate themselves. And so, they simply use them as their little, their little playthings. And that's how you, in fact, bring about this sort of change, because you have to blur the line of demarcation between old and young, because in their minds, once a person becomes so indoctrinated into the status quo, they're no longer useful as these sort of change agents. And so you have to take a young person and elevate them to the level of an adult, so that they become useful, so that
and
they
would you say
cannot
the same is true of Nikki Giovanni? Do you think that Nikki Giovanni and Michael Eric Dyson kind of have the same interest in rappers?
Yeah, absolutely. They have the same interest in rappers for that very same reason. And of course, it's you hear the rappers say it. This is why someone like an Ice Cube can go from NWA to all of a sudden he falls out with NWA, becomes a solo artist, and then all of a sudden, he's gotten political. He hooks up with the Bomb Squad, and all of a sudden he's buddy with Public Enemy, and now he's more overtly political. But even when he was with NWA, although they're talking about all this street stuff and all this and that, even in the montage, I think at some point someone said that that DJ, whatever, I don't know his name, said that hip hop culture is the progeny of American culture at large. And so whatever you see on display, and this was the common refrain you heard amongst gangster rappers from Ice Cube to Scarface to NWO, that they were simply mirror reflections of society, because you all created this abstraction we call society. You all made us like this. You did so with your racism. You did so with your oppression. You did so with your inequality, and so on and so forth. You made me angry. You made me frustrated because you would not let me feed on the spoils of imperialism and all this other stuff. And so hip hop is merely a reflection on society, so that society can get itself together. Because in order to fix these problems that you see within the music, then society has to act so as not to produce the kind of men and women that that create this kind of material. It's society's fault. And so at Michael Eric Dyson, he's like, yeah, this is an example. We're going to use them to indict society, because, of course, in my social vision, I have this whole thing, conjured up in my mind about how, my particular worldview can make the world a better place. And so they use them for this purpose. That's how I see it.
And I think, this is what they do in every in everything. That's what they do. Like, they go, they find the people, they agitate them, like the pushers of these ideas. They find the people, they agitate them, and then they push them back, they train them up. What they do is a perverted discipling. It's the devil don't have anything. He doesn't create anything on his own. He just takes God's things and perverts them. That's what he does. So you see the devil, he ain't got no new tricks. It's the same old demon, and
this is some good discussion tonight.
And I want to say to somebody in the comments, they were like, "What's wrong with glasses?" Nothing wrong with his glasses. There was nothing wrong.
No, Crystal said he's fat and he wears glasses. She's over there sounding like what's his name? Gino Jennings.
Gino Jennings.
Well, you know, I'm a little tough on them because they're a little tough on us. So when I see liberals, especially them black bougie ones, I go in. But because they be ready to go in on us. But what
I don't give them no quarter.
I don't give them no. I be do. Anyway, but like these people, these black bourgeoisies, they live their lives very.
Boy, hold on. You just said black bourgeoisies. What does that mean? What is that?
Bougie blacks, these blacks that act like they're so down for the people. Mind you, they live in the best neighborhoods. They got educated the best way, but they act like they are so connected, but they live their lives very conservatively. Like,
do you did socialism ever sound appealing to you, Crystal?
Socialism?
Mm-hmm.
I already told you, socialism, it sounds wonderful. It sounds it's the greatest sounding form of government ever. Oh, we all put in something and then we all take what we need. Isn't that fantastic?
No.
You know, I've never had it really explained to me until like after. You know, but I don't know if somebody would have explained it to me. I don't know if I would have been. I don't know if I would have been on that train. I don't know though. I mean, who knows now? But I'm just saying, like, if somebody was like, Quisha, we're gonna take, because I think I'm a little bit too selfish for that. Like, we're gonna take from you.
Yeah, I am too.
No, that's not. See, y'all talking about what it sounds like, or y'all talking about what it is? This is what it is.
What it sounds like.
What it sounds like, though. Okay, so how was it presented to you? I guess
this is what it sounds like. I told last show. I said my son came home and said socialism is the best form of government because it sounds like this: everybody works together, and then everybody puts all of their stuff in a pot. And then, you know, when you can't work that much or you can work more, you take what you need.
See, right there, I would have had to dip. I would have had to dip. When you want me to put my hard earned with everybody else, I'm gonna have to stop you right there.
But what happens if you
Exactly, Quisha. Exactly.
What if you're the one that is down that week? Then you get to take from somebody else. So everybody gets to take, and it's communal. We all
sounds scandalous. Sounds scandalous. I wasn't that way in grade school. Like, if you tried to pitch something to me, like socialism to me in grade school, I wouldn't have gone for it because it's like, what? I have to like share my earnings with somebody else? Nah, miss me with that. What about you, Chuck? Did socialism ever sound appealing to you?
No, I mean, not once I mean, it's funny because I don't really like recall, you know, even going when I was in college. You know, I got a 4-year degree from an accredited university, and you know, we talked about these things, but it was never explained in a way that I guess could really. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain because I don't want to make it too complicated. But I guess the short answer is, like, once I began to really figure out and find out, you know, what it is, and I can't even tell you the moment in my life where I actually came across this concept called socialism, and I really began to, okay, well, what is this? I don't even know when that happened. So I can't. It's funny. It's weird, man. My life is like flashing before my eyes as I'm trying to come up with this answer. But But when I really started to study it and try to figure it out, I was like, nah, no thanks. I'm good. You know, you can have it. Yeah, you can have. I would kind of get into like my college experience and what a lot of my major professors taught and what kind of line of thinking that they were on. They were on this whole thing. There is a social theorist by the name of Emanuel Wallerstein, who came up with this theory of world systems and world empires, and talked about how, you know, there are different ages where, you know, certain empires have hegemony, and, you know, we've seen these waves throughout, you know, history, beginning in the late 15th century, and about how pretty much the third world will forever be marred in poverty because they are positioned within the interstate chain of commerce. They are relegated to the exportation of low-tech goods. And so this is how they're never able to, quote unquote, catch up to the developed world. Because it was the underlying message in Emmanuel Wallerstein's scholarship was quintessentially a Marxist, but I didn't recognize and understand that at the time. Was again, they were talking about imperialism and exploitation and the extraction of resources, and how cheap resources are exported to the quote unquote first world, or to the developed world, and this is how developed worlds are able to remain ahead, and how they exploit and so on. And I was taught by one of my professors, Dr. Ellison Bowles, who taught me that it doesn't matter what the system is, whether it's capitalism or communism. It's about the country itself, where it finds itself, and how it can never escape this kind of commercial prison of kind of like low tech, if you will, low tech commodities, banana chips and cocoa beans and so on and so forth. While the United States, so we lead the world, for example, in the production of computer chips or missiles, and the production of those missiles are based upon raw resources we get from other countries, and our ability to extract these raw resources have a lot to do with the long line of imperialism that began long before our great grandparents were even born. And so that's a lot of the kind of stuff that I learned back when I was in college. And so we never even really dealt with the horrors of communism and socialism. It was kind of like this critical colonial theory, so to speak. But yeah.
It's there though.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a difference between, because you would consider yourself in those days to be an Afrocentrist, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so is there a difference between Afrocentrism and socialism?
No. No. Those things go hand in hand. Like for me, I don't mean to be, it's like self-indulgent and make it like all about my personal story or anything like that. But yeah, it was kind of like competing ideas, because on the one hand, I was really into like the whole truther stuff. And so, I was big on, things such as, was the moon landing faked, and, who assassinated JFK, and what really happened on 9/11, and, this and that. And, and I was, reading up on things that were saying that, George Washington was a descendant of, Charlemagne the Great, and Charlemagne the Great was a descendant of so-and-so who, had a hand in authoring the Bible, and how, all of our world's, major figures, are all part of this kind of ongoing genealogy, and how, this is how they rule the world. Yeah, and they interbreed with one another, and they secretly control the world through this, interconnected web of secret societies and so on and so forth. And so that's the kind of stuff that I was all into, Bill Cooper and Fritz Springmeier and Tex Mars and Alan Watt, Jordan Maxwell, these sorts of individuals, right? And then there was that, and then on the other hand, I kind of was getting off into a lot of the, the Afrocentric kind of scholars, the Dr. John Henry Clarks of the world, so on and so forth. And so I was trying to find a way to kind of get my kind of intellectual orientation, because I was trying to kind of wed those two worlds together. Because on the one hand, all the conspiratorial stuff, which is, again, I've said this before, I think, as well on the show, that when you study those things, and this is why I learned to reject them, especially as I became closer and closer to God, is because all of that secret society studying, that's, it's just New Ageism. And when you go and when you study all that stuff, it makes you this nihilistic, this kind of angry, defeatist sort of person, because within the truth movement, all that stuff that they're talking about, they do not leave, for example, the sanctity of the Gospels and the historicity of the Gospels. They don't leave that alone, because religion is part of the entire conspiracy as well. Completely. Because what undergirds all of the world's corruption Again, and it goes back to Charles Spencer, it goes back to Karl Marx when he referred to religion, of course, being the sigh of the oppressed, of the opiate of the masses. Is this underlying reality that, you know, everything is sort of like in God's hands, when in fact the God that we seek is truly within us. And, you know, those who have that knowledge are keeping it from us and giving us this bastardized version of spirituality called Christianity, Judaism, and all of the world's major religions. When in fact, the secret society network, they are the ones who really have the knowledge, and they're keeping it from us. And while they keep it from us, they are purposely starting wars, purposely starting disease. So they are doing this. It's not the fact that we live in a fallen world or we are fallen. We are only like this because they are these secret, you know, evil, wicked people in their little secret society network and doing all their little rituals and whatever they're doing. They are making us like this. They are making the world like this. And if we got rid of them, then, you know, the cream would rise to the top and we would actually have heaven on earth. This is essentially what New Ageism and occultism is all about in its modern form. And that's a lot of the stuff that I was believing. But then I had, like I said, I had to reconcile that with a lot of the pro-black stuff. So what I'm saying, like, is this a white thing? Is it white people just doing this? Is it back? So, you know, it was a lot of confusion. And I guess at certain times, depending on the situation, you know, so I would like code switch, or I would get into the conspiracy there. And then on the other hand, you know, I was all, you know, pro-black and Afrocentric and stuff. So yeah, it was a journey, man. It was a serious intellectual journey. I gotta tell you.
I remember this is before I moved to New York, but I bought a this, you know, so in New York on like 125th Street, they're selling the oils and the shea butter and all of that. And there was this book, it was talking about the bushes and like the bush, the skull. That's when I first heard about Skull and Bones and all of that kind of stuff. So yep, I was there buying it off right in Harlem, buying it off of 125th Street.
It's not to say that those things don't exist and that's not some truth to some of that kind of stuff, but I just don't care anymore. And the reason why I don't care anymore is, you know, for obvious reasons, but I feel like I've been talking too much, so I'll leave it alone. But I don't care about that stuff anymore, man. You know what I mean? Because no matter what, you know, again, I have to live this life. I have to go through it. And I'm curious. Well, curious, I guess, isn't the apt word, but you know, there is a life after this one, and so that's what I am concerned with. It's not all that other boogeyman, you know, spook behind the curtain type of stuff. There is something good in this life, and it's worth living. And I believe that ultimately, you know, we are here for a purpose, and we're here to serve someone. We're here to serve something. And when you believe in all of that other silliness, it takes you off of that. It takes you away from that for various reasons that, you know, I guess I've explained it well enough. So I'll just leave it alone. But yeah, I had to put all that silly stuff away.
And I think you find, well, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I found it. I started to leave that stuff alone because it still leaves you unfulfilled. Like it's not. I found a deeper revelation in God. Like there was something deeper than even what they were talking about. You know, like this hidden thing. God is not hidden. He's not. You know, he's not hidden. You know, what is the scripture? I forget, Lord have mercy, but it's like the earth, not the earth, but declare the works of the Lord. Like God is written all around us, you know what I mean? And it's like, he's not hidden. He is not hidden. And he's not, you know, like keeping something from us. He doesn't, no, that's not the God I serve. Like he's always been there. He is always there.
However, we are given over to a reprobate mind to the extent that we reject him.
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah.
I said, however, we are given over to a reprobate mind to the extent that we reject him.
Yeah.
You know, and so he's hidden in that respect. Like, I mean, his word is like a puzzle to those of us who aren't genuinely seeking him. And what seems to be clear to some is utter confusion to many who aren't genuinely seeking him. So there's nuance in there, you know?
Yeah.
And Chad, to answer and to go back to your question, Chad, and I told you all about my whole church journey, my church experience, and why, just growing up as a young boy and being in a Baptist church, and how the experience just left a bad impression on me. And I rejected, and then went through my teenage years, and tried to find some sense of autonomy, and so I rejected all of that stuff because I just didn't have that good solid biblical foundation growing up, because I saw the state of and I think maybe God has maybe perhaps spared me and brought me along this far because he knew someone who maybe had my characteristics and gifts could be a strong ally of his if I could just make it through the storm. So perhaps he spared me and brought me here. Who knows? Yeah, because I think maybe perhaps that prepared me for later on when I could really accept what was really going on, because I just didn't see sound teachings there, and I shamefully believe that this is what church life is. This is what the Bible is all about. Running around, screaming and jumping around, and like I told you all before, it just creeped me out. I just didn't like it. I thought these people were crazy, and I said, man, reasonable, rational people don't act this way. That something is not right about this. And then that's when and I says, religion is just, they're playing on your emotions, because to me, an intellectual person, right? And this is a prevailing kind of a mantra amongst Marxists, is that they believe that ignorance is simply a failure to understand. And so I believe that it was because of their ignorance, they were believing in this God because perhaps they didn't know any better. And so my intelligence, sort of like what Dr. King used to believe, right, Chad, that my intelligence can bring forth salvation because I can reason myself based upon my own human faculties into some kind of higher understanding, because these church people are crazy. But then I had to learn later on that, of course, belief in God is the only thing that is in fact rational, ultimately. And this is even something that the great Immanuel Kant said, that reason can only get you so far. Immanuel Kant said it himself, that he leaves enough room for God, because reason should take you. This is Immanuel Kant. Now, it's not me. This is Nietzsche. This is not me. No, but Kant said that reason should get you to the point where you realize that reason is not enough. If reason doesn't get you to the point where you realize that human reason is not enough, then essentially you're being irrational, unreasonable, and reason is completely useless. There has to be some room left over for God. And that's what I had to learn, that I'm not enough. I can't figure this out, and I went through nights and nights and nights of just turmoil, just not figuring out. I wasted a lot of years of my life. I didn't really start turning my life around until I was like in my late 20s, but I wasted a lot of time, man, a lot of time.
And as we wrap up here, I think that is one of the things with these rappers and all artists who have found high levels of fame. It's a hell of a drug. It is a hell of a drug. Fame is a hell of a drug. And they do start to believe their own hype. They do start to believe like, look at all this worship. Look at all this praise that is heaped upon me. Look at all this stuff. It puts you, it gives you a praise that is undue to you. It is, it is not due to you. That's why the skin color thing, like, I'm proud of my skin color. You didn't create it. Like you put absolutely nothing on this. You ain't put nothing in on this, man. Like
maybe some cocoa butter or some shea butter, or some African soap.
And Chad, and like, yeah, and the Afrocentricity, like all that's Marxist too, because of course, it's about ideas, and again, Black people are meant to set themselves apart due to this kind of cultural imperialism, not just a kind of physical bondage, but with that comes this an adopting of kind of like a Western, or the adaptation of into Western ways. And so yeah, you gotta, man, and the whole cultural supremacist movement that went alongside the Black Power movement in the 1960s with the likes of Kwame Ture and so on. So yeah, that's a huge part of it.
Let me read the remaining.
Was Kwame Ture straight?
I haven't came across anything that said he was gay.
Not if he's a rapper. No,
he was an activist. He was a Stokely Carmichael. He changed his
Stokely
name to Kwame Ture. Yeah.
Oh, I know Stokely. You know, he's.
Oh yeah, he was
Stokely Carmichael's gay.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, when Chad was, I think it was either Chuck or Chad talking about what Stokely, what he did to that guy.
You're talking about
wasn't that Stokely or was it? Yeah, it was
Newton. P. Newton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's rumored that that Huey P. Newton sodomized Bobby Seale with a pool
yeah, that's
cue.
what it was. Bobby Seale. Okay, my bad. But Jesus Loves You says, God bless our friend Crystal for joining. Thank you so much. D. Mitchell Esquire. Okay, great job, guys. I appreciate the info and insight. Thank you so much.
Respect on it.
What kind of lawyer are you, D. Mitchell?
I don't know, right?
Probably criminal law.
That's where the money's at.
I mean, if he's dealing with the blacks, it's probably criminal law.
That and funeral homes. No,
there you go.
All right, great discussion. Appreciate. Oh, they're really the conscious blacks are really going to come for me. Great discussion. Appreciate your godly talents. Thank you, Willie Doc. Let's see, 02122. Hey, one of our moderators. A pro-blackness is an emotion. Okay, now this typing is now 02122. You got the Ebonics typing going on up here. Okay, pro-blackness is in. I feel like I have to like what I tell my children. Don't speak that way. Pro-blackness is an emotional narcotic that creates problems that are subsequently
misattributed to white supremacy. It's cyanide in a Dr. Sebi cell food bottle.
Right. Don't give a read like that, but type it like you don't read.
No, you ain't talking about Dr. Sebi. You know he's still alive. He ain't dead. He learned how to live forever.
Y'all know y'all want to go to Honduras and see that garden.
Oh Lord.
Hey, so you or not Quisha, Crystal, you and Blanche have something in common, don't y'all? Y'all are both not like us, right?
Oh yeah, my parents are from Trinidad. Yeah, no, I don't do. Yeah, I'm telling. I don't know what my life. Yeah, I don't know what my life would be if I was raised by Black Americans. Man, they in the sunken place. They are in the sunken place. How did T go? They are in the sunken.
Hey,
I don't do black.
Look, I'm a foundational Black American.
Keisha posted something on. She was going off about being Black and how they were saying you weren't Black, Keisha. And what I said,
wow, man, that thing had me so hot.
I'm not Black. Being Black.
Those are your problems.
Yeah.
Those are Black people's problems.
Hey, Keisha.
Y'all gotta wait, man.
Keisha, before you wrap the show up, because I don't want to get caught off guard. You know, if you abruptly end the show, because A Nova Lisa Dragonfly said something, and I really wanted to discuss this. She said that Black people complain about conservatives who use the word woke, citing that it originally meant being aware of Black issues, but it was always a problematic term. Then she goes on to say, white people and conservatives just expanded the meaning to include all of the progressive ideologies, same word, agenda, and outcomes. Now, she's not wrong in saying that. But I understand what she's saying, and I know why she's saying it. But when we talk about this whole concept of wokeness, I did this on my YouTube channel as well. When I went into a deep dive into this whole concept, this whole idea of a woke. There is this prevailing misconception that the concept of woke was created by I'm trying to remember who it was. Matter of fact, I have it here in my notes. Invented by a blues musician named Huddy Ledbetter back in 1938 when he made a song about the Scottsboro Boys. I don't know if you're familiar, y'all are familiar with the Scottsboro Boys case. But in that song, in Huddy Ledbetter was also known as Lead Belly. And he said in that song, here are some of the lyrics from that song. So I advise everyone, be a little careful when you go along through there. Best stay woke, keep your eyes open. So this was Lead Belly back in 1938. Okay, and so this is one of, and I've even seen, recent articles attempting to explain this whole idea of woke, because now that conservatives are using it as invective towards their political opponents. Now everyone wants to know, well, where in the world did this kind of, this new modern day colloquialism came from? But of course, if you know, like I know, you know that this comes out of Marx. And just let me sort of briefly explain, if I may, guys, just allow me to indulge. I'm just going to read to you guys quickly when we talk about this whole idea. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because we're talking about conscious rappers, right? And of course, another word, when you think of someone being conscious, you think of someone who's awake, right? Someone who's woke. So what do we mean when we talk about being conscious? Or what does it mean when we talk about consciousness? Of course, you have to get into the details of sociological theory and sociological thought. And to be frank and to cut straight to the chase, I started to get into some Hegel, but I won't get into some Hegel. I'll spare you guys because it's I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not trying to talk down anyone and say anyone is stupid, but it is very sort of complicated stuff, and I don't know if it would do us any good to discuss it. But when you start talking about consciousness raising or becoming awakened to something, you're talking about essentially you're talking about Hegelian dialectics. I just want to read to you guys something that the American philosopher William James said. He was a professor at Harvard back in the early 20th century. As a matter of fact, he was a teacher of sorts of John Dewey. They went on to collaborate later on, and both of them are sort of seen as the Tweedledee and Tweedledum of the pragmatist movement of American philosophy. But here is what William James said of this whole concept of consciousness. William James says of consciousness, consciousness emerges as the mind reflexively uses ideas as instruments in the struggle to live. All consciously held ideas then must be understood as the ongoing result of a series of unending experiences wherein the consequences of holding such ideas are known. In other words, consciousness always implies a kind of double move. We are both consciously aware of an idea and aware of having that idea. Consciousness is being reflexively aware of our own ideas. Now, that may even sound a bit confusing, but how that applies to Marx, and how Marx, when he talked about this idea of dialectical materialism, here's what Marx believed that he understood. Now, I'm trying to explain this in kind of like symbolic terms. So when you look at reality, when you look at something, that thing conveys a message to you, right, based upon what it is you see and what you sort of recognize it as being. But what it is not, what it is at the moment is not as important as what it will become, right? And so when you look at a caterpillar, you don't see a butterfly, right? But you think that eventually that thing will become a butterfly. But once you know what that thing is, that thing being a caterpillar, right, you can adequately predict what it will in fact become. And so what something seems to be on the outside is what Marx would refer to as the ideology, right? So again, if Marx understood that he had history down to a science, and so there's science, which is truth or which is nature, and there's ideology, which is sort of like a subjective perception. And so it's not so much the being, it is what something is becoming. And so in order to know what reality is, you must simplify reality and break it down to the realm of the abstract. That once you understand the abstract, when you have gotten to the science and you have stripped away the ideology, then you actually know the thing, and then you work your way back from the abstract to the concrete. So you look at the concrete, work your way to the abstract, then work your way back to the concrete. And the reason why we get all this weird comments, all of this stuff, you say, well, how does that result into all of this death, suffering, and mayhem, and so on and so forth, is because seeing as how Marx understood that he had saw past ideology to recognize things for what they really were, he could properly understand and convey mankind's motivations because he knew man in a way that no one else had ever understood man prior to. And so it's not so much of what reality is, what society is, hence progressive. It is what society is becoming. So when you look at society for what it is, when they talk about all of the things about the free market and capitalism and so on and so forth, it's like, no, that's just the lie to sort of like keep you complacent. But when you get to the science, or how you get to the science, is you have to look at things critically. Hence where we get the whole idea and the whole concept of critical theory. To look at reality critically is to reach the true definition of what it is, to actually reach the abstract. And that manifests itself in a multitude of ways. You know what I mean? It's like, when you go, DEI training, when you go to work, right? They may teach you, this is a little anecdote that I heard. I've never come across this, but I can 100% believe it. For example, it may be considered a microaggression or racist, for example, if you were to see a young black male employee in the office and you ask him if he happened to see the professional basketball game on television last night, right? It's like, well, what are you trying to say? That because I'm black, I like basketball? Are you buying into some sort of stereotype? Do you think I can play basketball because I'm black? All of a sudden, that person reports you to the HR department, and now all of a sudden you got to have a sit down. It's like, well, no, I'm simply asking you because I'm simply trying to break ground, find common ground, facilitate a happy work environment. Maybe I like basketball too. Maybe I'm trying to make a friend. Maybe I just believe that people just like basketball in general. It wasn't even about your skin color. See, when you look at things that way, you're looking at the perception of it, but you're not looking beyond that gesture and looking at it critically in order to find what is truly there. And only a person with a trained with a trained eye, with a trained Marxist eye, the chosen few. I don't know. How you get this gift, I don't know. Sort of like the gift of the philosophers, right? The Plato and Socrates talk about some men are just different. Some men can see the racism when it's not there. Some people can see the aggression when it's not there because they actually can see things with the critical eye. And that is, in essence, what Marx, or a huge part of what Marx is talking about when you hear this whole term or concept of Marxian dialectics. So the conscious rapper is awake to things that the majority of folks are not awakened to. They can see the oppression that you can't see. And that's the truth.
Who do you think?
Oh, sorry.
Who do you think feeds them the talking points? Do you think it comes out of their own kind of observation of the conditions of the areas from which they come? Do you think that they are kind of fed these talking points from their agents? Like, where do you think this kind of desire to be the voice for the quote unquote struggle comes from?
Narcissism.
You just mean like, just how, just in general, you're not talking just strictly intellectuals or rappers. You just mean like in general, like people who, or are you saying like rappers, artists?
So I know that because you had mentioned earlier that there were a couple of individuals in the montage, and I agree, who aren't what you would think of when you think of conscious rappers like Snoop Dogg, for example.
Eminem, like we didn't even talk about him.
Right. Well, I mean,
that's what I actually had notes.
Some of his recent stuff is woke. Some of his recent stuff, I mean, Shady World or Slim Shady, like obviously that stuff is not woke, but some of his more recent stuff is post 2020.
It's funny because the Eminem of the early 2000s. I mean, we could use him today. Seriously, we can use that irreverent voice today, but that man is long gone, unfortunately.
See? That's what I mean. Art to say stop. No.
Yeah.
I mean, like Eminem. First of all,
I mean, he made his bones, you know, lampooning the caricature, the excesses of pop culture.
Yes.
And now, you know, he's just a sad sack of a man. You know, I mean, again,
And that, I mean, can we just be real? Like, I mean, listening to that rap, that little freestyle they did about Trump was just lame.
It was lame.
Lame. In your orange?
In your orange.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the Eminem that made all those songs, Stan, and all that just ridiculously creative stuff. I mean, that's the same guy.
You're gonna have a nuclear holocaust. Like, this man never, like, the man that's in office is doing that now, and you don't hear him mums the word.
I mean, dude, when the way I sit back with this pack of zigzags in this bag, it is weed. It gives me needed to be the most meanest to see on this earth. This is birth. I've been cursed with this curse that you're cursed, man. That was my man back in the day. You come to this.
Nobody say Eminem is one of the best rappers of all time. Absolutely the best rappers of all time.
Best white rappers.
No, I'm not on that. Look, Eminem's one of the best. From my opinion, Eminem is one of the best rappers.
He's one of the greatest of all time.
Solo for him. I think he was just a cool guy that came out under like the 50 Cent kind of era, and we set the bar so low. He was good. He was decent. I'm Slim Shady. Yes, I'm the real Shady.
Y'all know how people get when rap debates start. We start debating rappers. Let's just not even, because I have to vehemently disagree. Eminem was by far one of the most talented MCs ever. He wasn't just some product of Dr. Dre's production, and no, I gotta disagree with you, Crystal. But I'm gonna let it go because I don't want to go there. We're gonna be here all night. But Eminem did things in rap. People worked together. I never heard anything like that.
Crystal, I'm with you.
Yes,
I'm with you.
No, Chad. No.
White folks, and white folks can do a fraction of what black folks do, and blacks will be like, yes, you see how hot that white guy is. I've heard a lot of white guys rap.
Eminem. Thank you, Cruise Missile.
Slim Shadys are just the Montague.
But you know the song though.
No. Cruise Missile.
Always knows the
Shout out to Cruise Missile. She or he said Eminem, lyrically, Eminem is untouchable. He was. Not anymore, but he was.
Busta Rhymes been doing that. The Busta been doing that harder.
Nope.
Elliott was doing it. Timbaland was doing Twista. Twista was doing
not the cadence of his
Crystal. Missy Elliott, time out. Missy Elliott is on the same level as Eminem. They don't even belong in the. And I respect Missy.
No, they're on the same level. I mean, lyrically, yes, they're on the same level.
The trailer.
Put your work, put your twerk, get. Bang down, twist it in reverse. It's young and then young.
Man, I'm not even gonna. Man, yeah, man. I ain't even finna start rapping Eminem songs, y'all. I'm not even gonna start. Y'all crazy.
Up in the comments. I'm sorry.
Y'all crazy.
We're telling the truth in 2024, Cat Williams.
Y'all crazy.
we telling the truth.
Hey, Crystal, you got an ally. I agree with
you.
Thank you. But Chad, your allyship don't count. Okay, not when it comes to rap. Sorry. And I like
prime Eminem. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
I don't know if you want that, okay?
Prime Eminem is arguably the greatest rapper of all time. Prime Eminem. I'm not gonna debate nobody. Yes.
Let us all
you like JT. Hip hop, is that okay? Hip hop, we okay with Chuck saying that? Hip hop, no.
You can't comment because you're not black.
Yeah, that's why I said hip hop. I didn't say black. I said hip hop. Are we okay with that?
Who is we though? Who is we?
Hip hop. Are we okay with that?
Listen, I wouldn't put Eminem at the top spot, but I said arguably. I'm not going to debate. If somebody said Eminem was the greatest lyricist of all time, I'm not going to shout him down. I'm going to say, all right, bro, I'll let you have that. But if you say something silly like I don't know, whatever, some second rate guy, then we have a debate. But if you want to make the case that Eminem is the greatest of all time,
there are numerous rappers that are better than
Jigga is,
Eminem.
Insane.
Jay-Z?
Jay-Z is insane. Like that's if we're talking about favorite rappers, I think he is literally like just one of the best. But Eminem, don't get me wrong, he's good. But I think we set the bar for the Trailer Trash.
No.
I
mean, okay.
No.
We're talking about like
that is objectively false. I'm gonna be honest with you. Eminem, for me, Eminem fell off a cliff with the Eminem Show. His third album, I really didn't like it because that's when I felt like he really began to take over his production more so, and you can really hear that kind of trademark Eminem production style, which I thought sounded very repetitive. But his first two albums, the Eminem LP and the Slim Shady LP and the Eminem Malcolm Mathers LP, them two albums alone solidified him as one of the greatest MCs of all time. Those two albums alone. Period.
Well, to Crystal's point, Chuck, do you think if a black artist would have rapped the same exact album and it wasn't Slim Shady, it wasn't Eminem, that you would have liked it as much?
No, because I don't think the subject matter, I don't see how that really could have fit a black artist. I mean, he found this very weird niche.
So in a sense, are you proving her point though?
Yeah.
No, because here's the thing. Eminem was able to take, even like I said with his first album, he took a lot of quirky, because he introduced concepts and, talked about recreational drug use that I had never heard of. I didn't know what a mushroom was and all this stuff. Like, I didn't know anything about that. But he was so talented and descriptive in his storytelling that he made you listen, even if it was something that was silly and seemed like it didn't make sense to you. Like, why is this man talking about killing his girlfriend, tying her up, putting her in the trunk, dumping off her body, and bringing his daughter with him in 97 Bonnie and Clyde?
But you would call that the greatest rapper of all time, though.
Yes, I would.
That's the part that I'm confused. Okay.
Yes, I would. Mind you,
qualify that.
Yes, I would, because of just him as a wordsmith. And what he was able to do with his words, and how again, it's just because again we're talking about rap in general. So what are we actually talking about? We're talking about good rap or positive rap, right? Him and Eminem is talking about this trailer park life and doing all sorts of drugs and being this deviant and this degenerate, and you have another black artist who's talking about hood life or whatever the case may be. It's not like we can say, well, one is on a higher moral ground than the other. But just listening to Eminem's, again, aside from his content, I think that's what made Eminem special as a rapper. You know what I mean? It wasn't just that, oh well, he's white and he's a novelty because he's white. Because if he didn't have any talent, he would have been laughed out of existence. But his talent was so undeniable, sort of like the Elvis Presley effect. You had to listen because he was just that talented with his wordplay. And his ability, and how his cadence is everything that goes into the art of MCing. He was the best in the game at the time. He was the best.
Like Dr. Umar.
Touche.
That's
why, Crystal. That's why in this era, again, in rap music, with all this racial, of course, this white man can't jump complex that a lot of black folks got, that if you come into a quote unquote black space, that's why no black rapper, and you had some good ones that were right alongside him and them that were popular around the same time. Now, I remember Eminem and DMX kind of broke through at around the same time. No black rapper would touch Eminem, would dare diss him, would dare make a record about him, because Eminem would have eaten them alive. He would have. Nobody touched him. And it wasn't because, oh, he was white, so we scared of the white dude, like some kind of
They're not scared of them. They love the white. They, like you said, it's a novelty. Yeah. They love the whites. The blacks love. They obsessed.
I think that's part of it, Crystal. I do.
No. They all liked him. They couldn't deny his talent.
Yeah, you couldn't deny. He was one of these people that you could not deny. Like, I don't care. Like, once he got a toe in, he kicked the door down. Like,
Crystal, I see where you're coming from. I agree with you.
It's like
we agree to disagree, as they say.
Huh?
Eminem was a lyrical force to be reckoned with at the time. I never heard wordplay like that in my life.
See, now you just dig it.
No, Chris, I don't know if you ever heard. I don't know if you ever heard Eminem's first two albums.
Just listen to "Lose Yourself" the other day because you gotta lose.
No. First two albums. First two albums.
I listened to Stan. I listened to Slim Shady. But I'm telling you, I thought it was just trendy. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was bad. I loved his Stan little crazy thing where the little boy was white, writing to him, the white boy.
But
so I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was
made the trend. Like he created the genre. He made that trend. Like he did. There was no sound. No sound like Eminem. There was no
garbage. It was garbage.
I mean, yeah, it's subjective, but he made that sound. You know Eminem's voice, you know his cadence, his style. Like he carved out his own lane, and Ashanti, know if anybody else
even Quisha, did you hear? I was like, dang, M kind of came back. Did you hear that? I think it was it Marshall Mathers Part 2 or Part 3 or something he came out with? I remember that song. It was going crazy because everybody was like, yo, Eminem. It was a song called Rap God. And Eminem, you heard that song, Rap God, Quisha? You ain't heard that song?
But I'm gonna listen now.
Go listen to that song, and then we gonna have this conversation again in 2 weeks. Go listen to the song Rap God. Tell me Eminem ain't.
Ashanti started the little rap singing. Like she brought in this whole she couldn't really sing that good, but she brought in this style. Nobody's gonna call her the best singer. Like that's
you know who's better than Eminem? Ja Rule. Ja Rule is a better rapper.
All right, man. Hey y'all. Good night. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless you. Good night. Yeah, don't come to me. Hey man, I came with you, bro. You going too far now.
Yeah.
Ja Rule is a better Eminem.
Hold on. Let's see.
That's not disrespecting the military. This is for Colin. Ball up a fist. And keep that shit balled like Donald the bitch. He's gonna get rid of all immigrants. He's gonna build that thing up taller than this. Well, if he does build it, I hope it's rock solid with bricks. Cause like him in politics, I'm using all of his tricks. Cause I'm throwing that piece of shit against the wall till it sticks.
You know, lame.
The gold chain makes it hotter.
But we better give Obama props, cause what we got in office now's a kamikaze that'll probably cause a nuclear holocaust. And while the drama pops and he waits for shit to quiet down, he'll just gas his plane up and fly around till the bombing stops. Intensity's heightened, tensions are rising. Trump, when it comes to giving a shit, you're stingy as I am. Except when it comes to having the balls to go against me, you hide them. Cause you don't got the nuts like an empty asylum. Racism's the only thing he's fantastic.
I'm sorry, that was a bar. That was a bar.
Lame.
Let it go. Let it go. I done already qualified my argument. I said I stopped listening to Eminem after his third album.
When I heard that in the
you're right, Truck. But no, Quisha, lame. Lame.
Corn chips.
Eminem from 98 to about 2002, 2003, Eminem was untouchable. And that period cemented him forever. It's the same reason why people put Biggie up there to this very day. And Big only released 2 albums. I know he died, but let's just say, for example, if Eminem would have just made those 2 albums and walked off and never made another album again, he would be remembered forever.
He would be Martin Luther King.
You probably should have.
No.
I have a
The
dream. No, he
whole
was
thing-
remembered for that. But listen, like,
the
no.
whole thing, he's corny. He is
Exactly.
No, he ain't.
Now he's woke.
That's just objectively false. I'm just sorry.
No, like he's super woke now. I mean,
I know. I just said he's an embarrassment. I just said that. I said he's an embarrassment. I can't stand the guy. You know what I mean? But talent wise, man, what he did in hip hop, I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time. I can't deny that. I can't deny that.
I hate to do it to your brother, but nah, I'm gonna have to disagree.
Okay, Chad. I tell you what, man. Let's put a poll out there. Let's do a man on the street. I'm gonna be the one laugh because they're gonna be clowning y'all. You and Crystal. I'm telling you, go anywhere. I'm telling you, man. All right. I'm crazy.
I can name numerous rappers that are better than Eminem.
I know. And
Ja
I
Rule.
Yeah.
Who else?
Chad,
Soldier
losing,
Boy.
Chad, you're losing credibility, man. You're losing credibility by the moment. Stop it. Stop, man. I'm doing this for you. Stop. People gonna think you crazy, Chad. Stop.
Soldier Boy. Better than Eminem.
Soldier Boy, tell him.
People gonna think you crazy, man.
I wanna get with you tonight, but I can't go, baby girl, and that's the issue. I wanna get with you, and I wanna kiss you, but I can't right now, so baby, kiss me through the phone.
Lord, forgive Quisha.
I'll see you later on.
Yeah, and low key, and Vic in the chat made a good point. You know, he said, hey, you know, Eminem got to be woke because you know he's a white man excelling in a black sport, as they
I don't
say.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No, seriously, because if you genuinely are as talented as Chuck Littleton says that you are.
No, I'm just talking about his political.
You get the luxury of kind of charting your own path.
Yep.
Opinions of others be damned. And so you don't have to be a woke rapper.
No.
Because like you're in the space made up predominantly of black folks. I don't buy it at all.
No, don't get me wrong. I think his opinions are genuine. I don't think he's just simply saying this so that the black folks will sort of leave him alone.
Chuck,
I think he genuinely believes what he's saying. You know what I mean? I think he does.
Come on now, Chuck. You saw the video of him doing that little freestyle in the parking garage.
If it was even a freestyle.
Ever so often they cut to the black Negro sitting off in the in the cut, just listening to him. I mean, he knows who he's performing for.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like again.
Do you remember when he had his little beef with remember Benzino? Well, you remember when he had his beef with Benzino? And Benzino knew he couldn't compete with Eminem talent-wise.
Are you saying Benzino?
He could not compete with Benzino talent-wise. Hold on, whoa, Crystal. Benzino is a better rapper than Eminem? Is that what we gonna say?
No, I'm saying why are you bringing up like the bottom of the Benzino?
The reason why. Okay, okay. No, you didn't even let me explain. You didn't even listen.
I'm sorry.
I said Benzino knew he couldn't compete with Eminem talent-wise, but not Eminem, but Benzino. I think he was a partial owner with the Source magazine at the time. And the Source magazine, as they used to call it, was the Bible of hip hop music. He tried to use the bully pulpit of the Source magazine to turn the beef he had against Eminem into a political referendum on the state of hip hop and how dare they allow this white boy to be considered the greatest rapper in the game, right? Because he couldn't make a diss record. He couldn't F with Eminem, and he knew it. So he tried to make the issue political and tried to rhetorically argue his way through that entire conflict because he knew he couldn't touch him, right? And so it was all about, well, here we have, once again, another white artist is going to do what Elvis Presley did to rock and roll. How are y'all going to let this white boy come in and do this to our thing. This is our expression. And everybody was looking at Benzino like, man, if you don't get the man, shut up. You know what I mean? Because bro, it ain't even about that. Because everybody knew Benzino was full of it. Wasn't nobody buying it. Because people knew what it was. And so, like I say, the reason why I kind of gave Vic a shout for what he was saying. Don't get me wrong, Chad. I get it, and I agree. Like I said, with what you're saying. But I think that there's a small part of me that kind of leaves a bit open for the possibility that perhaps, Eminem, of course, he's in that kind of Hollywood entertainment environment. And so we know what beliefs get reinforced when you're in that world, when you're in that environment. And so, again, I think being a white rapper, particularly in this era, when you are seeing this kind of cultural, this kind of Maoism, and this intensification of this kind of Maoist type of Marxism over the past couple of years, and this idea of cultural appropriation, so on and so forth. I think Eminem, he's watching and he's reading the tea leaves and he's seeing all this stuff going on around him. And perhaps he says to himself, I best, say what I need to say, or assure that I at least project this kind of disdain that I may have for Donald Trump or whatever other Republican politician or conservative person that's out there, so as to make sure that what happened to me when I was in my little fricas with Benzino, I don't want that to rear its ugly head once again, because things today aren't what they were back in the early 2000s. They just weren't. People are a lot more, it's just a different time in this cultural paradigm that we see here. So I think that may in fact have something to do with it. But again, I do think Eminem is saying what he believes.
Yeah. Benzino raps as well as Precious's mom raised it. Yeah, that's the point that I was making. I heard what you said, Chuck. I wasn't laughing at what you were saying. I was just saying that Benzino, of course, he's gonna try to use, whatever avenue. Rap is probably not the avenue that he should use to come against Eminem. And then he tried to use Source Magazine. But dude, we only remember you from Love and Hip Hop. Like, if outside of that, Benzino don't have no influence. Like, who's Benzino?
So,
stuff like that. Like,
he was a power broker. He was a power broker in the game.
Exactly. He doesn't have a lot of front-facing power.
Yeah, he was a power broker. He was a kingmaker.
The reason why he was on Love and Hip Hop is because he was known. Just like
I know you're talking about your boy,
producer.
Yeah, I know you're talking about that.
Stevie J.
Stevie J. Yeah.
Let me just say,
nobody knew who he was, but Stevie J made a lot of the stuff we used to bop to. He was the one writing those. He was producing those records. So
let me just say that I am inclined to agree with Crystal Jenkins up here on the panel. I honestly don't have a dog in this race. And yes, I am trolling. I don't know whether Eminem is the best rapper or lyricist. I honestly don't care. I will sleep fine tonight, not knowing who is the greatest rapper of all time. But what Crystal was saying makes a lot of sense, so I'm inclined to agree with her over what Chuck is saying.
No,
thank
you. Say you just trolling, Chad. Talent wise, Eminem is one of the greatest rappers to ever do it. If you know hip hop, you just know that's true. But
I will sleep on tonight, though.
Huh? I am too. I am too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm saying I can't stand the guy. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You know what I mean? I just said that I wish we had the irreverent Eminem that we had in the early 2000s. I wish that guy was around today. The guy
back when he was talking about drugs and killing his girlfriend and his mom.
Yeah, no, that. I mean, no, seriously, that. I'm talking about the guy. I'm talking because if you look at listen to me seriously though. All jokes aside, if you look, you don't have to agree, but I'm just speaking my piece. If you look at popular culture, for as much as we complain about how the creativity and everything about it has just been watered down due to the promotion of politics and ideology over creativity and what we put up there. Again, Eminem was tearing down these artifice and these cherished artifacts of popular culture. So you said, well, he was punching down, he was picking on boy bands and talking about Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan and saying all these crazy things, talking about whatever,
Let me ask you this, Chuck. Do you believe that he was? I mean, yes, talent aside, we all know Eminem is talented. I mean, that's not even a debate. But as far as because you mentioned those first two albums, but those were very subversive albums. And when you look at Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine and others who are behind him, and the fact that he, to me, listening to those two albums and the kind of undergirding theme of both albums and how he's preaching to, the middle class white American child. Do you believe that it was subversive and that it was purposely subversive?
I listen, and I understand what you're saying, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that, it's freaking Eminem. I don't know how old he was. I think he was in his late 20s at the time, because he didn't become famous and until he was much later than I guess some of your other rappers who start out late teens, early 20s. But I mean, of course, when I listen to it, it's not something that I would recommend, to a child. I'm not saying that overall, for example, and I think that's what you're aiming at. It's well, was Eminem's music a net, benefit for society, or was it just simply a kind of perpetuation of all of the things that we see wrong in society? I think that there was a lot of that, of course. I mean, and that's probably the majority of Eminem's art in those early days. I think probably comprises a lot of that. So I'll surrender to that.
Right. And I want for you to finish your point, because I think you're getting somewhere that's very important. But again, when I listen to some of his early stuff, in a sense, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, he's encouraging the white child of middle America to, in a sense, rebel against ideas of structure and stability. That is what he's doing with his early art. And I take your point when you say that he was doing so tactically and so skillfully that his talent is undeniable. I disagree, says Chuck Littleton, with the undergirding message of what he's putting forth, but the talent and the skill through which he is doing it is undeniable. Am I understanding you correctly?
I think the same can be said when you're talking about Jay-Z, and when you're talking about one of my personal favorites, when you're talking about Nas, who is he's sort of mainstream, but he's kind of more so also in that kind of consciousness rap package as well. And I think that is just true of rap in general. The same can be said of other forms of expression, other idioms, film and so on and so forth. I mean, there are a lot of personalities in film. We don't have to get into them and the peoples and some of the things that they say and believe. But, at the end of the day, someone who, say, for example, who I heard say one of the most appalling things, say like a Quentin Tarantino, who went on Howard Stern's show when remarking about Roman Polanski sexually assaulting a 12 or 13-year-old girl anally, saying that she knew what she was doing and she wanted it. But Quentin Tarantino was one of the greatest filmmakers in Hollywood history. My point is that when it comes to Eminem and what he was saying, it's some of the things that, again, back then, it's like, okay, if Eminem was insightful enough to say certain things, when he would point out, certain hypocrisy, when he would talk about, well, people want me to clean up my lyrics while the president gets his, sucked or whatever he was talking about, because at the time we were caught up in the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. Eminem, although yes, he was encouraging certain things and making certain things look cool that we know is degenerate and destructive, okay, but there was this kind of, again, I'm not saying that Eminem was a net positive, okay, but when you fast forward to today, And when you look at what culture has become, and you look at what has become this kind of the mainstay of what culture is promoting, right? This whole wokeness, quote unquote, that we're talking about. If the same Eminem of back then was today, perhaps Eminem would be insightful enough to know that I can make a living for myself and become, someone that people listen to or someone paid attention to, if I took it upon myself to attack that, because I'm reading the room and I can see the zeitgeist for what it is, and I can tell that people don't want that anymore. For example, one of the things that people, and remember when Eminem famously went up on stage and he and Elton John embraced right around the time when people were accusing Eminem of promoting homophobia. You know what I mean? He's like, I ain't. What he say? He said, I'm not. I'm not homophobic. No, you're just heterophobic. Staring at my jeans, watching my genitals bulging. When he would say stuff like that, like would Eminem today, would the same Eminem today say the things about gay people back then with and all of the Ken Kniff sketches and stuff, interludes that he had? Would he mock gay people and trans people today? Why not? Why wouldn't he? And I'm not saying that, because Eminem would lampoon the LGBTQ, way to go, he's a new conservative icon, because that's what you'll get from a lot of content creators today. Okay. Eminem will become their champion. Now, he'd probably still be just like the rest of them, but at the same time, somewhat different because he's not willing to quite go there. But if Eminem was at least willing to talk about a lot of the prevailing issues that we see undermining the creativity in pop culture, I think he would be a better voice. He would be more useful. He would be a more reverent and subversive voice. But instead,
having said that, that Trump freestyle was corny.
Well, agreed. We're talking. This is post. This is the new Eminem. Or this is
that's my whole criticism of Eminem, because a different type of Eminem would have seen what the rebellion was. He would have seen what the new punk rock or what the new counterculture was. Eminem used to be somewhat counterculture, but he's not that at all anymore. For reasons that, I guess is a different conversation. But I think the old Eminem, if he were today, if he would have been born 20, 30 years later, who knows? Say he probably would have been mocking Hillary Clinton, mocking Obama, mocking Joe Biden, mocking the LGBT, mocking the wokeness in Hollywood, mocking the. So, who knows? Because that's how he made his comeuppance in large parts, is by making fun of pop culture convention. He doesn't do that anymore.
He's corny. Let's read our last super chat. On behalf of, this is from Will, on behalf of Team Whitey, Eminem was better than Vanilla Ice, but now even Sexy Red is better than Eminem. All considerate music, though.
Hey, you know who else is better than Eminem? Paul Wall. Paul Wall.
I don't know the new ones. I don't know the new ones.
Paul Wall ain't new. Paul Wall, Paul Wall was around when I was in college.
Who's Paul Wall?
He's a Houston rapper, Texas, represent in the house.
I don't know about that.
Just for the chat, I just want to say yes. Big Pun was a good rapper. Okay, so
Big Pun was good.
Big Pun, Fat Joe, but I like Pun. Probably Pun better than Joe. But yes.
Hey, speaking of which, speaking of rap, I
all right, stop.
I released a rap track.
You better than Eminem? You better than Eminem too? Okay. Okay.
You won't get the credit, Chuck.
Okay. All right, man.
But that rap you did the other day was pretty dope, though, on your Instagram. I liked it.
It was satire, but
I know, but I liked it.
Surprisingly, it blew up.
Eminem is satire.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm self-aware enough to know. Obviously, I'm not a better rapper than Eminem. I'm not even a rapper. Maybe a candy rapper, but not a rapper.
Leatherface got my back. You know I'm right.
Hey, Quisha, since you're on the super chats,
I'm on the ones and twos. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Since you're on the super chats, let me give a shout out to some of our new members. Greg Witch became a family member, so that's $25 a month. Appreciate you. Azira QS, also a family member. Thank you. Seek Truth Always 65 became a friend. Lynn Bell, SB, Vanessa Buffington, Raul Bird, DM, W Shots 24/7, Acadia. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Van Dau, Deidre, Deidre. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Daniil, and then Leatherface. Thank you all for becoming members. Really appreciate it. We want to take Cutting Through the Culture to the next level. We want to, in the event that, one of us, myself, Quisha, Blanchard, Chuck, has to step out, we want to be able to bring on folks like Crystal and Jericho Green and other folks that you know and love and respect. We want to be able to bring them on to the show and have them kind of be a part of what we're doing here. We want to be able to put together events, live events for you all. And, for those of you who are supporting the show, we really appreciate it. I mean, just like tonight, sometimes we cut up, we go deep. We have our resident intellectual, Mr. Chuck Littleton, always with his prowess, his intellectual dynamism, his knowledge. We have Quisha with her, her cheerleader kind of
nuance.
Nuance and her optimism and her, her vibrance.
You gotta make that face though. You look like you don't like it.
we have Mr. Blanche Robinson with his witty humor, his devotion to the Lord our God, and then you have me doing whatever the heck it is I do. But we love bringing voices like Crystal Jenkins, who I think has a bright future ahead of her. Just very down to earth, has really good insight and good humor. We want to kind of keep this thing going. So for those of you who are supporting the show monetarily, we greatly appreciate it. Genuinely.
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much, guys. This was such a good conversation. I know someone in the chat was like, "Where's our substance?" I said, "Go back and rewind," because I think this was a great conversation. I think it was very substantive. So with that being said, it is, let's see, we've been going for 3.5 hours, and so we're going to bid you guys a good night. So thank you so much for watching. We love all of our moderators. Angel Wings doing a fantastic job. 02122, I think those were the two moderators tonight. All of you who joined as members, all of you in the chat, we love you so much. Thank you for watching. We will be back here next Sunday, 7:30-ish. Well, because we're Black. Thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.